Orchid garden was in full bloom, where orchids with 10 petals blossomed only to fall, leaving bare green branches amidst the vibrant purple-blue foliage. These orchids devoted an entire year of energy only to produce these brilliant purple-blue blooms, quietly waiting, clinging desperately to a love that was slipping away. As Orchid Garden blossomed, the annual Young Asia Design Competition was in full swing, held at the studio of Floral Horizon Television. This competition was broadcast live, allowing viewers to witness the splendor and breathtaking moments of each round. In the end, 3 of the most creative Chinese fashion designers would be chosen, with 2 offered the opportunity to sign a contract with the television network. The champion would not only launch their collection at International Fashion Week but also receive a scholarship to the Marangoni Institute in Milan, Italy. On a grand circular stage, judges and contestants stood in a large ring, forming a crescent shape. The central platform was layered in multiple tiers, each step like a stairway to a pinnacle where, at the highest level, a crystal stage sparkled like glass, rotating slowly. There, the 3 best works were displayed, pieces that had endured countless trials and had been meticulously selected from a pool of fierce competitors to earn their place here. Seated as the lead judge, Charles Parker rose and declared in a powerful voice, "The final results for the top 3 designs are in." The studio erupted at his words. Reporters and contestants alike could no longer sit still, everyone rose, whispering and creating a wave of excitement that surged with anticipation. The spotlight highlighted Charles Parker's face as he smiled, proceeding with the next steps of the program. Most of the contestants looked tense, beads of sweat forming on their foreheads. But there was one, Daniel Lawson, who maintained a calm composure, a slight smile at the corner of his lips, his gaze filled with gentle charm. With his high-bridged nose, Daniel Lawson looked like someone with mixed heritage. His design was breathtakingly beautiful, captivating everyone in a way that made it impossible to look away. Among the contestants standing there, he shone the brightest, drawing the attention of photographers who couldn't stop snapping pictures before the final results were revealed. Third prize went to the work, A Beauty to Behold, by Lydia Dale. Second prize was awarded to the piece, The Sound of Blossoms, by Lena Collins. Upon hearing the announcement, the corner of Daniel Lawson's mouth lifted in a fleeting smile. Finally, the first prize was awarded to the work, Victor Trent, by Mark Bennett. Applause filled the hall, the exhilarating atmosphere spreading, and Daniel Lawson's smile grew more apparent, though his dark eyes, deep like gemstones, remained calm and undisturbed. The top 3 pieces were displayed on the large screen. When Victor Trent appeared, the experts could not help but marvel. Layers of clouds were stacked simply yet exuded the restrained dignity of a king, like a sovereign preparing to break free from shackles, evoking a powerful, awe-inspiring force that resonated without being entirely visible. More surprising still was that this was not a standalone piece but an entire collection, featuring outfits for both men and women, all centered around the color white. Despite varying styles, a harmonious elegance flowed throughout. This collection, crafted by the young genius Mark Bennett, was indeed a testament to extraordinary talent. On the awards podium, Mark Bennett gripped the trophy tightly in his hands, his heart brimming with joy. Rumor had it he had won numerous international awards before, an astonishing feat indeed. At such a young age, to already grasp the very essence of design principles was truly remarkable. Isn't Mark Bennett the most exceptional of them all? How can he be this captivating? Someone nearby exclaimed in awe. The works that won third and second prizes, designs tailored for young women, pursued a beauty that was free-spirited and graceful while maintaining elegance and sophistication. Even girls with fuller figures didn't feel weighed down by them. These pieces were constructed with exquisite precision, radiating lavishness and youthful exuberance. Thanks to this unique design philosophy, these pieces broke free from current fashion trends, truly outstanding in their own right. However, in comparison to the first prize winner, Victor Trent, all other beauty seemed to pale. Was there any other outfit that could inspire such awe? Standing on the podium, Mark Bennett appeared serene, his face adorned with a gentle smile, genuinely radiating as the center of attention. In that moment, he became the focus of every gaze, with everything around him dimmed in the presence of his brilliance. At that exact moment, a strange sound erupted from the loudspeakers, shattering the lively atmosphere. The award ceremony was temporarily interrupted, and the stage became chaotic as people began to murmur excitedly. No one knew what was happening, yet Daniel Lawson suddenly felt an unexplainable sense of unease. Although it had nothing to do with him, he couldn't understand why he felt so anxious. A staff member holding a stack of documents approached the judges, whispering into one of their ears. The judge read the papers, his face turning grave, then lifted his eyes to look directly at Daniel Lawson with a gaze as cold as ice water, sending a shiver down Daniel Lawson's spine. Suddenly, one of the judges raised a yellow card, and the background music cut off instantly as the audience gradually fell silent. The entire space was enveloped in a tense atmosphere. Everyone knew the significance of the yellow card. And at this moment, raising the yellow card meant that something major was about to unfold. Meanwhile, at Tranquil Grove High School's campus, purple-blue orchids bloomed along the tree-lined path, clusters of purple flowers forming a vast sea, filling the area with their splendor. The gentle spring breeze stirred the sea of flowers into waves, carrying the fragrance of orchids throughout the campus. Outside the windows, the blue sky and thin clouds painted a heart-stirring scene of beauty. However, contrasting with the beauty outside, inside Class 11, the atmosphere was as tense as a battlefield. On the podium stood the literature teacher, known as the cold-faced witch, her expression icy as if the chill penetrated deep into every student's heart. In stark contrast to the tense scene, in the corner by the window stood a petite girl. She resembled a delicate doll, her soft hair gently swaying in the breeze. She stood in silence, her cheeks tinged pink like flower petals. Her deep black eyes betrayed no emotion, as if the entire conversation had nothing to do with her. "Teacher, what more do you want me to say? I've already told you everything." The girl, her expression impassive, repeated, "Alexander Blake asked me to request a leave for him. He's not feeling well, so he went home." The literature teacher's cold gaze turned razor-sharp. "Obviously, he's skipping class. This morning, he was healthy enough to run a marathon, and now he's suddenly unwell." Lily Lawrence bit her lip, clenching her fists, and looked straight at the teacher. "You don't believe me, no matter how I explain, it's pointless." The teacher's face flushed with anger. "Lily Lawrence, if I find out Alexander Blake really skipped class, I won't just deduct his points, I'll deduct yours too." Lily Lawrence blinked her long purple-tinted lashes, her light pink lips curving in a subtle, defiant smirk as if to say, "Do whatever you want." Bang! The classroom door was suddenly kicked open, the loud sound breaking the tense atmosphere in the room. All eyes turned toward the door to see a tall young man standing there, silhouetted by the light. Sunlight bathed him in a halo, making his features almost indiscernible but radiant. His entire presence exuded a strange, mysterious allure, drawing every gaze to him. Suddenly, a girl in the class gasped aloud. "Oh my gosh, it's the genius from Class 11, Daniel Lawson. It's really him. Why is he here in our class? Did you all see that? He's even more handsome up close. He's coming this way. Could it be, he remembers the last time I gave him that sweet cake?" At that moment, Lily Lawrence could see the young man's face clearly, and the indifference in her expression disappeared instantly. Her deep black eyes sparkled with worry and unease, and she stood frozen as if there was nowhere to hide. She knew she couldn't avoid this situation. The young man seemed to ignore the presence of the literature teacher on the podium entirely. Under the astonished and admiring gazes of everyone, he walked straight over to Lily Lawrence's desk. His features were exceptionally refined, with sharp lines and a symmetry that left no angle unflattering. Yet, there was a coldness about him that made others feel stifled. He stopped in front of Lily Lawrence's desk, his face expressionless, his dark eyes aflame as he stared intently at her, his voice cold with restrained intensity and threat. Lily Lawrence, come with me. Lily Lawrence's face turned pale, and though her voice dripped with scorn, there was a faint, barely detectable tremor. You're so rude, don't you realize it's class time? The young man, as if holding himself back, clenched his fist, his dark eyes flashing with a sharp, steely glint. Must I say it again? His commanding demeanor made Lily Lawrence's eyes flash with irritation. She turned her head towards the literature teacher on the podium. Teacher, he's not even in our class, disturbing everyone. Please, make him leave. At that moment, the young man turned around, his cold face suddenly softening as he spoke politely. Excuse me, teacher, I have something I need to discuss with Lily Lawrence. May I borrow her for a moment? Lily Lawrence's defiance nearly vanished. Before the school's prodigy, the literature teacher immediately softened into an unusually gentle smile. Of course, that's fine. I'm not going anywhere. Even if you beat me, I won't go. Lily Lawrence shot him a furious glare, gripping her desk tightly. Yet, her resistance seemed futile against him. The young man replied coolly, You don't have a choice. As soon as he spoke, he grasped her slender arm, pulling her from her seat. Daniel Lawson, you're too much. I'm not going with you, you brute. Let me go. Lily Lawrence could barely look her classmates in the eye. She clenched her hand, hitting him, though her blows did nothing to faze him. Watching Daniel Lawson drag Lily Lawrence out of the classroom, she grew angrier and more anxious, suddenly biting down on his wrist. Daniel Lawson's body froze instantly, a suppressed groan escaping the corner of his mouth, but he only stopped momentarily. Once accustomed to the pain, he tightened his grip on Lily Lawrence's arm and continued pulling her forward. An hour earlier, at the competition, Charles Parker had stood under the lights, his face showing clear displeasure as he announced coldly, without a hint of emotion, Apologies, everyone. News just arrived that the entry Victor Trent by contestant Daniel Lawson has been discovered to replicate a design previously published in a fashion magazine, with a 100% overlap. After deliberation, the judges unanimously decided to revoke Daniel Lawson's qualification to participate. The ranking of the entries will therefore be re-evaluated. The entire hall seemed to explode. Daniel Lawson felt as if his blood, his bones, everything inside him had frozen, like someone had thrown a bomb into his mind, detonating without warning. The anger, helplessness, and doubt drove him to charge toward the judges' table. He wanted to scream, but he found he couldn't utter a word. He just stood there, frozen on the award stage, under the harsh spotlight of the cameras. Did he plagiarize? The young design genius, openly copying a design at such a prestigious event? Unbelievable. Whispers rippled through the hall. Who would have thought someone that handsome and flawless would be a thief? Perhaps he had some reason, or maybe he's been wronged. Looks can't be trusted. Bitterness and shame pierced Daniel Lawson like hundreds of knives. Every gaze aimed at him was filled with disdain, the radiance that once surrounded him now replaced by cold ridicule, sharp and unyielding as an ocean's tide threatening to drown him. Daniel Lawson pulled Lily Lawrence to the sports field, his gaze complex as he looked at her, a mix of cold water and burning fire. But Lily Lawrence didn't back down, she widened her eyes and stared right back at him. The late spring sunlight cast a golden layer over the sky, bringing a stillness to the air and a sense of heat. In the distance, a gym class was underway, with shouts rising and falling, stirring the atmosphere. Lily Lawrence could feel Daniel Lawson's anger, each of his breaths was filled with fury. Finally, after a moment of restraint, he spoke, Lily Lawrence, tell me the truth. Did you sell my design? So it was about this. Did he really think she didn't care? Lily Lawrence let out a light scoff, turning her face away, thinking he was just a stubborn child who didn't understand the situation. Why did you do it? Daniel Lawson's voice was filled with bitterness and helplessness. Lily Lawrence cast him a look of disdain, her tone full of provocation, I'll do what I want. So what? What are you going to do about it? Daniel Lawson's voice surged with anger. Lily Lawrence, please stop messing around. Don't you realize? This design doesn't just affect my reputation, it impacts our entire family. Lily Lawrence cut him off coldly. Your family, not mine. Daniel Lawson stood there, stunned. The sunlight grew hotter as if it intended to burn everything, not his body but his heart. The light in his eyes faded, leaving only a deep, midnight black, a darkness that might never see the dawn. After a long silence, his face emptied of emotion, calm as if nothing had happened. His thin lips barely moved. I'll head home first. See you tonight. At dusk, with the sun setting and a light breeze bringing a hint of chill, Lily Lawrence declined Lu Jung-lu's offer to walk her home. She slung her backpack over her shoulder, quietly walking along the path. In her hands, she held a small stuffed bunny she'd bought on the street, whispering, little bunny, do you think Daniel Lawson will tell Dad? He absolutely will. That jerk wouldn't hide anything from me, he's so petty. Lily Lawrence muttered to herself as she quickened her steps. But I'm not afraid. I'll just deny it later, and that'll be that. Lost in her thoughts, Lily Lawrence was suddenly startled when a girl appeared in her path. She looked closely and realized it was Luna Taylor, her face lit up with a radiant smile. Her skin was smooth and pale, like a porcelain doll, her long blonde hair falling in large waves, her small, beautiful face resembling a living Barbie doll. Surprised, Lily Lawrence asked, Luna Taylor, what are you doing here? Luna Taylor tilted her head slightly, her large eyes blinking. I was waiting for you. Did your mom give you a hard time today? Lily Lawrence replied absently, it was manageable, I can handle it. And you? Off on another date with a handsome guy today. Luna Taylor's face turned a shade of pink, and she whispered, Lily Lawrence, this time, I think I'm really falling for someone. Lily Lawrence squinted with a smile. Oh. Who's the lucky guy who managed to make our picky Luna Taylor's heart flutter? Luna Taylor blinked playfully. I'll introduce you someday, and then you'll see. Hearing that, Lily Lawrence's eyes sparkled in surprise. It seems this guy must be someone special. I'm really looking forward to meeting him. After sharing her story, Luna Taylor studied Lily Lawrence closely and asked, did something happen at school today? You don't seem very happy. Lily Lawrence denied it immediately, not at all. Luna Taylor didn't buy it, looking at her with a knowing gaze. We grew up together. Don't you think I'd notice if something was wrong? Spill it, did Daniel Lawson make you angry again? The moment Daniel Lawson's name was mentioned, Lily Lawrence felt a surge of anger flare up. That brute. Do you know what he did today? He dragged me out of the classroom in front of everyone. Luna Taylor covered her mouth, giggling, getting pulled out by such a handsome guy, I bet half the girls in school are jealous of you. Lily Lawrence huffed, pouting, who would want him? Seeing her reaction, Luna Taylor tried to console her, all right, don't be mad anymore. Then Luna Taylor continued, oh, by the way, did you know Daniel Lawson was in a competition today? Lily Lawrence paused, thinking to herself, could it be that his storming into class to question me about the draft was related to the competition? Luna Taylor asked in surprise, you didn't know? Even with the competition, he still came all the way to your class. Lily Lawrence shook her head, ugh, just thinking about him makes me angry. Let's not talk about him. Tell me, did anything interesting happen to you today? In the living room of the Lawrence family's home, a crystal chandelier with shimmering tassels cast a soft glow over every corner. The room was silent, although two people sat on an orange sofa, a chessboard between them. Thomas Lawrence squinted slightly, confidently placing a white piece on the board. Daniel Lawson, holding a black piece in his hand, hadn't yet made his move, his deep gaze revealing he was lost in thought. Thomas Lawrence chuckled, Daniel Lawson, I never expected that your chess skills would surpass mine. Truly, the new waves push the old. Daniel Lawson smirked. That's only because I learned from you, Dad. I'm just using what I know about you to find opportunities to gain the upper hand. Thomas Lawrence nodded approvingly. Know yourself and know your opponent, and you'll win every battle. I've always remembered those words from you. At that moment, Lily Lawrence stood at the door, clenching her fist before stepping into the living room as if nothing were wrong. Dad, I'm home. Thomas Lawrence smiled warmly at her. Lily Lawrence is back. I had Miss Leona make your favorite spicy fish today. Go wash up and get ready to eat. Lily Lawrence let out a quiet sigh of relief, thinking, it seems Daniel Lawson hasn't mentioned the draft to Dad yet. As she passed by Daniel Lawson, the smile on her face instantly disappeared, replaced with a cold expression, as she headed straight to the bathroom. The dining table was beautifully set with delicious dishes, and a delicate silver candle holder with a few white candles in the center cast a warm, flickering glow over the room. Dinner had only just begun when Lily Lawrence suddenly remembered something. She set down her chopsticks and stood up abruptly. My entertainment news show. A flicker of unease crossed Daniel Lawson's face as Lily Lawrence rushed over to the TV, but just then, a hand swiftly grabbed the remote. Lily Lawrence frowned and looked up, only to see Daniel Lawson, and her expression immediately soured. I want to watch TV. Daniel Lawson had no intention of giving her the remote back. He spoke calmly, you should focus on the spicy fish you like so much. Don't get so distracted by the TV that you accidentally choke on a fish bone. Lily Lawrence scowled, her irritation evident in her voice. What does that have to do with you? Just give me the remote. Thomas Lawrence turned around, gently admonishing her, Lily Lawrence, is that how you speak to your brother? Lily Lawrence pouted, her face full of grievance. Dad, he took my remote. Now he won't even let me watch TV. It's so unfair. Thomas Lawrence remained unconcerned. It's nothing serious. Daniel Lawson is just looking out for you. Though she had expected this response, Lily Lawrence still felt dissatisfied, casting a suspicious glance at Daniel Lawson. Are you going to give me the remote or not? You can't watch TV. The words echoed in Daniel Lawson's mind as he tightened his grip on the remote, his dark eyes like a forest brimming with unreadable emotions. However, Lily Lawrence was unwilling to concede. She suddenly snatched the remote from him and pressed the power button. In an instant, the TV screen lit up with a news segment featuring Daniel Lawson. The announcer's cold voice echoed, today, the young design prodigy Daniel Lawson, who was expected to shine at the fashion design competition, has been suspected of plagiarism. Thomas Lawrence froze, his chopsticks slipping from his hand and landing on the table with a sharp, jarring sound. Lily Lawrence instinctively looked over at Daniel Lawson, her eyes filled with shock. Daniel Lawson closed his eyes tightly, trying to conceal the pain and helplessness within him. The dining room fell into silence, the atmosphere chilling as if frozen in time for what felt like an eternity. After a long pause, Thomas Lawrence rose from the sofa, a heavy expression in his deep-set eyes. He silently lit a cigarette, the hazy smoke surrounding him as if it conjured an inescapable sorrow. When the last wisp of smoke faded, he extinguished the cigarette and looked over at Daniel Lawson. Daniel Lawson, I believe you wouldn't do something like this. A glimmer of light flashed in Daniel Lawson's eyes, and the thorns around his heart seemed to soften for a moment. All doubts felt insignificant in the face of his father's trust. Lily Lawrence cast a disdainful glance his way as Thomas Lawrence frowned and sighed. Don't worry, son. I will get to the bottom of this and restore your reputation. Lily Lawrence felt frozen, trapped as if encased in amber. She wanted to protest loudly, but no words would come out. Daniel Lawson gave a faint smile and said calmly, Dad, please don't worry. I'm grown now, this is my issue, and I'll resolve it myself. I'll uncover the truth on my own. Let me learn to be independent, all right? Lily Lawrence looked at Daniel Lawson in astonishment, full of doubt. He had made such a huge mistake, why didn't he expose her in front of their father? Could he truly be that generous? Impossible. Someone like Daniel Lawson, who enjoyed attention, would never think of protecting her. Thomas Lawrence looked at Daniel Lawson with pride, silently thinking, Daniel Lawson, you truly are my son. Then Thomas Lawrence turned to Lily Lawrence. Lily Lawrence, we are family. When your brother is going through something like this, shouldn't you offer him a few words of encouragement? Lily Lawrence looked at Daniel Lawson coldly, her voice full of contempt. He's quite the actor, isn't he? Pretending to be innocent in front of you, even though he knows everything. Thomas Lawrence frowned. Lily Lawrence, how can you say that? Lily Lawrence retorted defiantly, what did I say that's wrong, Dad? Perhaps you should be asking me that question instead. Do you truly believe he didn't plagiarize? Lily Lawrence glared at Daniel Lawson with hatred, wanting nothing more than to tear off his fake mask. Thomas Lawrence responded calmly, in this matter, I trust your brother more than I trust you. Lily Lawrence suddenly stood up from the sofa, her eyes filled with anguish. Why was Dad always like this? Did he see her as forever inferior to him? A bitter feeling rose in her chest, and her purple lashes quivered like a butterfly caught in the rain. No matter the circumstances, she could never measure up to him. Just as her tears were about to fall, she turned sharply and ran out of that stifling living room. Under the dazzling neon lights of the KTV, the night was lit up brightly. Lily Lawrence walked into the KTV, passed through a dimly lit, vibrantly colored hallway, and entered a private room. Unlike the other rooms bustling with music and dancing, this one was quiet, with no music and no one dancing, just two young girls sitting on a dark sofa. Luna Taylor, is this the place you said would help us unwind and forget our worries? It was Lily Lawrence's first time at a KTV, so she felt a bit uneasy. Luna Taylor blinked mischievously. Yep, I've been here twice before. We have connections here, so even though we're not 18, we can come and go as we please. What if your brother finds out? Lily Lawrence asked worriedly. Oh, who cares? We're here to relax, there's no need to worry about what they think. If they find out, so be it, we'll deal with it later. Luna Taylor said confidently, picking up a bottle of liquor and pouring a glass for Lily Lawrence. Come on, tonight, drink as much as you want, and forget all your troubles. However, Lily Lawrence wasn't good with alcohol. After just one glass of red wine, her face had already begun to flush. She rested her head on Luna Taylor's shoulder, her voice tinged with sadness. Luna Taylor, tell me, why does Dad treat me this way? Why does he always side with that brute, as if he's the only good person in the world and I'm worth nothing in comparison? I'll never be better than him. Luna Taylor gently patted her back, comforting her, no way. What does Daniel Lawson have over you? You're much better than him. Lily Lawrence gritted her teeth in anger. He's the worst person in the world. You have no idea how good he is at pretending. He obviously knows he did it, but he pretends like he has no idea, claiming he wants to be independent and investigate everything himself. All lies, just to win Dad over. If he weren't like this, he wouldn't be Daniel Lawson. Luna Taylor spoke carefully, actually, you could look at it from a different angle. Maybe, in some way, he's also doing this to protect you. Lily Lawrence sat up, clearly unsatisfied. Who needs him to protect me? That fake brute. Since we were kids, he's only ever shown his perfect side to everyone, making them think he's the most flawless person around. Luna Taylor tried to soothe her, come on, Lily Lawrence, don't be angry. Being angry only hurts you, while Daniel Lawson stays unaffected. Lily Lawrence found Luna Taylor's words made sense, and she straightened up. Right. Why should I torture myself? If I need to, I'll play a stronger card and knock him down. Luna Taylor clapped her hands in approval. That's the spirit. Now that's the way to do it. Suddenly, Lily Lawrence frowned, clutching her stomach as she stood up. I need to go to the restroom for a bit. She staggered out of the room, the dim lights in the hallway making her feel slightly dizzy. As she was finding her way to the restroom, someone walked past her and bumped into her. A hand quickly wrapped around her waist, steadying her from falling. Lily Lawrence hurriedly expressed her thanks, but the arm didn't release her. Sensing something was off, a wave of caution rose within her, and she struggled, saying, "Let go of me." The man didn't let go, his face showing a lewd smile. "Hey there, where are you going? Let me take you there." A feeling of disgust surged in Lily Lawrence's chest. She gritted her teeth, pushed him away forcefully, and even managed to kick him before sprinting toward the restroom. Lily Lawrence stayed in the restroom for nearly half an hour before carefully stepping out. She glanced around the hallway, and with only the flickering lights around, the man was nowhere to be seen. Feeling more at ease, she quickly made her way back to the room, but upon returning, she found it empty. A small piece of paper was tucked under a glass. Lily Lawrence walked over, lifted the paper, and read Luna Taylor's handwriting. "Lily Lawrence, something urgent came up, and I had to head home right away. Tranvi had some issues, so I couldn't stay with you. Sorry." Lily Lawrence's expression turned serious. Just then, Daniel Lawson approached her with a slightly furrowed brow and said, "Something came up at the company. I need to go back to handle it." Lily Lawrence's heart tightened, and she asked with concern, "Is there something wrong with the company? Can I help in any way?" Daniel Lawson shook his head, his voice calm but firm. "I can handle it myself. Just take care of Dad. I'll explain everything when I get back." A hint of disappointment flashed in Lily Lawrence's dark eyes, and she nodded gently. "All right, then you go ahead." As Daniel Lawson walked past her, he took a few steps before suddenly stopping and turning back, his gaze deep as he looked at her. "Don't worry, everything will be fine." In that moment, Lily Lawrence felt her heart soften like sand. She watched as Daniel Lawson's poised and composed figure gradually disappeared around the hallway corner. A strange emotion rose within her. Her father had an accident, and the company's troubles were understandable. These matters must be complicated, but Lily Lawrence wasn't worried. She had to admit that, deep down, she had a lot of faith in Daniel Lawson's abilities. Ever since they were young, she had witnessed him handle every issue he faced with complete competence. She understood clearly that she could never compare to him. She trusted in his abilities, yet at the same time felt insecure about herself. Because of this, her feelings toward Daniel Lawson were always conflicted. But now, all she could think was, thank goodness he's here. Daniel Lawson left and didn't return all day, nor was there any news from him. Lily Lawrence passed the day in a haze, waiting. As dusk fell, the sky was covered in the colors of sunset, like a stretch of silk with clouds shifting into beautiful shapes. Lily Lawrence waited until evening before going to the hospital, but still, there was no sign of Daniel Lawson. After dinner, as she was about to enter her father's hospital room, someone called out, "Young lady." Lily Lawrence stopped and turned around to see a man in his 50s, his face marked with wrinkles, approaching. He moved slowly, his body seeming devoid of strength, as though he were holding on to life by a mere thread. "Uncle Harris?" Lily Lawrence's eyes showed a hint of surprise. It was clearly Kyle Harris, the uncle she had known since childhood, but now he looked so unfamiliar, no longer the open and friendly Uncle Harris she remembered. Kyle Harris asked carefully, "Young lady, is the chairman doing well?" Lily Lawrence hesitated before replying slowly, "My dad is all right." Then she added, "Uncle Harris, I still prefer it when you call me Lily Lawrence, just like before." Kyle Harris's dry, cracked lips formed a forced smile. "Things aren't the same as they used to be." Lily Lawrence sensed something was wrong and frowned slightly, asking with concern, "Uncle Harris, has something happened? Can you tell me? Has something gone wrong at the company?" A flash of fear crossed Kyle Harris's eyes, and he immediately shook his head. No, nothing. Young lady, I've worked at the company for so long. I've always been loyal and dedicated. Tell me, at my age, how could I possibly do something to harm the company? Realization struck Lily Lawrence, and she immediately pressed, then what did the company do to you? Tears welled in Kyle Harris's sorrowful eyes. I've worked hard my whole life, only to end up back at square one. Now, I've lost everything, there's nothing left. The moon shone softly, casting a gentle silver glow over the quiet garden beside the treatment area. Lily Lawrence sat silently on a stone bench, the night breeze drifting through the blooming flowers, carrying a faint fragrance around her. She knew Daniel Lawson would pass along this path, and she wanted to intercept him before he met with her father. Waiting here was her only option. Time passed in silence, and drowsiness, like the scent of flowers, seeped in and pulled her deeper into fatigue. Her eyes gradually blurred, her consciousness became hazy, and in the end, she didn't realize when she had fallen asleep. A familiar scent suddenly replaced the fragrance of flowers, and a warm hand gently shook her. Lily Lawrence awoke from her light slumber, her purple lashes fluttering as her eyes slowly opened to reveal a handsome face. He was leaning down slightly, his face filling her entire field of vision. Lily Lawrence froze, her purpose for being there flashing through her mind. Quickly, she sat up from the stone bench and said, I finally caught you, Daniel Lawson. Daniel Lawson raised an eyebrow, instinctively straightening, and asked calmly, You were waiting here for me? Lily Lawrence stood up, her small frame seeming even smaller in front of Daniel Lawson's tall figure, but her aura was not overshadowed. She lifted her chin, her tone accusatory. Daniel Lawson, what did you do at the company today? Lily Lawrence usually had no interest in the company's affairs, so this unexpected question surprised Daniel Lawson for a moment, though he quickly guessed the reason. I have my reasons for what I do. No matter the process, my purpose remains to protect the company's interests, Daniel Lawson replied calmly. Lily Lawrence clenched her fists, looking at him with anger. So, you resort to any means necessary, ignoring loyalty and bonds? Daniel Lawson, do you even have a heart? Uncle Harris has worked hard for the company since Dad founded it, he's devoted so much. Can't you see that? Under Lily Lawrence's accusations, Daniel Lawson's gaze grew colder. And what have you seen? What do you know? Not backing down, he responded icily, I only know that Uncle Harris dedicated his entire life to the company, but in the end, he was dismissed over a minor issue, leaving him a broken man before me. I couldn't overlook his mistake. He talked during working hours and even brought up Dad's accident in that conversation. Lily Lawrence asked angrily, so, what are you planning to do? Do you have any regrets about that decision? Daniel Lawson replied firmly, I had no other choice. Dad entrusted the company to me, and I have a responsibility to protect it. Besides, I don't regret my decision. If Dad thinks my approach is wrong, I'm ready to accept any punishment. Daniel Lawson's words were unyielding, leaving no openings, making Lily Lawrence unsure how to respond. She could only glare at him, her eyes slowly revealing a hint of vulnerability. A strange feeling rose within her, and her heart suddenly ached. The strong stance she'd held quickly dissipated as she lowered her purple lashes, took 2 steps back, and sat down on the stone bench, saying nothing more. Could it be that I'm wrong again? Is it always me who's in the wrong between the two of us, while he's always right? Lily Lawrence felt a wave of confusion wash over her. She didn't need Daniel Lawson to fully agree with her perspective, she just wished he could be a bit gentler, perhaps then it wouldn't hurt so much. Daniel Lawson, with a complicated expression, sat down next to Lily Lawrence, and his usual invisible shield seemed to show a hint of weariness. After a moment of silence, Daniel Lawson's voice softened, losing its usual edge as he spoke gently, Lily Lawrence, do you really not understand me? Lily Lawrence froze, her purple lashes seeming to stop moving, and in a deep corner of her heart, a softness rose like a flowing river, bringing forth a rush of indescribable emotions. She didn't dare look directly at him, her fingers twisted together, revealing her current tension, her pale pink lips trembling slightly. If you want me to understand you, then tell me why you did it." Her voice softened, but she waited a long time without hearing a response from Daniel Lawson. Feeling puzzled, she turned to look at him and found that he had fallen asleep. Daniel Lawson's eyes were shut, his dark lashes casting a faint shadow. Though his brow wasn't furrowed, his face still showed unmistakable signs of fatigue and melancholy, like a thick mist that wouldn't dissipate. The moonlight gently illuminated him, creating a dreamy aura. Lily Lawrence watched him quietly, slowly extending her pale hand and lightly smoothing out his furrowed brow, her lips murmuring, "Daniel Lawson, from now on, I'll try to understand you. Don't avoid me anymore, okay?" The next morning, news of Thomas Lawrence's car accident spread quickly, becoming the focus of media headlines. Within moments, the news was everywhere, and a continuous flow of visitors arrived at the hospital. Lily Lawrence had been busy from morning until noon, feeling nearly overwhelmed. By lunchtime, she leaned against the window in the hallway, under a bright blue sky with sunlight blazing like fire. Finally, she let out a relieved sigh, silently thanking Annie Newton for coming to help. Without her, Lily Lawrence would have struggled to manage on her own. Before long, she watched as visitors gradually left the room and made their way home. When everyone had departed, Annie Newton gracefully approached her. Lily Lawrence looked at her in surprise. "Annie Newton, how did you manage to handle everything so quickly?" She had spent the whole morning dealing with everything, while Annie Newton had resolved it all in under 10 minutes. This truly piqued her curiosity. Annie Newton smiled with confidence, exuding elegance and poise. "Lily Lawrence, I've worked with your father for many years, not just for show. I'm used to dealing with all sorts of people every day, so today's situation was nothing. As for you, you're just a high school student, so it's perfectly normal not to be able to handle it." Lily Lawrence expressed her gratitude. "I'm so lucky to have you, otherwise, today would have been a disaster for me." Her eyes sparkled with admiration, filled with genuine reverence. Annie Newton smiled, "You should thank your brother. He's the one who asked me to come and help you." Hearing this, the light in Lily Lawrence's eyes dimmed, and her pink lips pouted slightly as she remained silent. Noticing something unusual about Lily Lawrence's expression, Annie Newton stepped closer and asked gently, "What's wrong? You seem to have something on your mind." Lily Lawrence hesitated for a moment before softly saying, "Annie Newton, what do you think about Uncle Harris being dismissed?" Annie Newton nodded, clearly already aware of the situation. She sighed and said, "Lily Lawrence, you know, after your father's accident, many people in the company have been waiting for a chance to seize power, and some even want to see Summit Ventures fall. While Daniel Lawson may have been strict with Uncle Harris, he did it for the greater good, forcing those with ulterior motives to keep their ambitions in check. It was a worthwhile decision." Lily Lawrence continued to question, "But why did he target Uncle Harris? He's the longest-serving employee in the company." Annie Newton explained, "Yes, Uncle Harris has seniority, but he also made a mistake. He was caught discussing your father's accident with others during work hours, and Daniel Lawson saw it. Because of this, he had to make that decision. If Summit Ventures faces trouble, not only Uncle Harris but many others would be affected." Annie Newton paused, then continued, "Although Daniel Lawson made the right choice, it will undoubtedly make some people in the company distrust him, perhaps even calling him ungrateful. However, I have to admit, I greatly admire his decisiveness and courage. But if someone from the family could offer him a bit of support, his spirits would be much higher. After all, Daniel Lawson is only 18, still very young." After listening, Lily Lawrence remained silent, her gaze shifting out to the garden as Daniel Lawson's words from the previous night replayed in her mind. "Lily Lawrence, do you really not understand me?" His voice had carried a trace of disappointment, leaving her with a bittersweet feeling now. Annie Newton stayed at the hospital for only a couple of hours before she left. Soon after, Lily Lawrence encountered Daniel Lawson in the hospital lobby. Beside him were three friends of his age, all handsome and full of energy. Daniel Lawson was chatting with them when he happened to spot Lily Lawrence and called out to her from a distance, "Lily Lawrence." Sunlight danced on the large glass windows like tiny spirits, and Lily Lawrence stood there, seeming bathed in a radiant halo. She turned gracefully, her long, soft hair flowing. Her features were not perfect, but she had an overall beauty that seemed to belong in a manga. She stood quietly, watching Daniel Lawson and his friends approach. Her long purple lashes curved like butterflies fluttering in the sunlight, vibrant and lovely. Not only Daniel Lawson's friends but even he, accustomed as he was to her appearance, seemed momentarily struck by her beauty. One of his friends, with long, phoenix-shaped eyes, grinned and joked, "Daniel Lawson, you're lucky. Having such a pretty girlfriend and not introducing her to us sooner, afraid we'd steal her." "I'm not his girlfriend." Lily Lawrence quickly clarified, her cheeks flushed like petals, her face burning with embarrassment and discomfort. She glared at Daniel Lawson as if to warn him that this was all his fault and he had to take responsibility for sorting it out. Daniel Lawson felt slightly embarrassed by his friend's teasing, but he quickly explained, "Don't say nonsense, she's my sister." Hearing this, the whole group looked surprised. A handsome friend named Harrison Tate smiled kindly and said, "Oh, so you're siblings. Both of you are so good-looking, but you don't seem to resemble each other much, do you?" Lily Lawrence thought to herself, "Of course we don't look alike, we're not blood-related siblings." Daniel Lawson glanced at her and replied calmly, "Do siblings have to look alike? Even twins don't always look the same." The friend scratched his head, replying sheepishly, "Yeah, that's true." Lily Lawrence tried her best to ignore Daniel Lawson's friends, her gaze fixed on him as she asked gently, "Is everything at the company taken care of? How do you have time to come to the hospital?" Daniel Lawson responded lightly, "Nothing urgent, so I came back to the hospital to visit Dad. He's still waiting for me in his room. I'll head over now." Lily Lawrence turned away as if by chance and started walking off, but after only a few steps, she suddenly stopped, turned back, and blinked her clear eyes. "Oh, right, I want to go home tonight, so you'll stay and take care of Dad, okay?" Daniel Lawson smiled, "Sure." With his response, Lily Lawrence turned and continued walking away. His friend, Danny Carter, nudged Daniel Lawson playfully, grinning. "Hey, with such a beautiful sister, wouldn't you get jealous if someone started pursuing her?" Daniel Lawson's face turned cold, his voice firm and sharp. "You can set your sights on anyone, but my sister is absolutely off limits." The next morning, gentle rain fell like threads from the sky, and the scenery in the distance appeared through a misty veil. The scene mirrored a part of Lily Lawrence's somber mood. Half an hour later, a taxi slowly pulled up in front of the hospital gates. Lily Lawrence stepped out, holding a light blue umbrella with elegant patterns in one hand, while the other held a thermos filled with century egg and minced pork congee she had spent 2 hours carefully preparing. She couldn't help but imagine Daniel Lawson's reaction when he saw the congee she'd cooked just for him. Lily Lawrence felt a sudden lift in her spirits, like colorful balloons floating through her mind. She climbed the steps slowly, but upon reaching the top step, her feet suddenly halted. Small raindrops fell gently, silently drifting through the air. Through the misty rain, Lily Lawrence saw a familiar figure, no, to be exact, 2 figures, one familiar, one unfamiliar. They stood close together, as if engrossed in a long conversation. Occasionally, someone passed by them, but they seemed oblivious, as though the world only contained the two of them. A wave of intense curiosity rose in Lily Lawrence's heart about their topic of conversation. Just then, she heard footsteps from behind her. Turning around, she saw someone with a dark green umbrella slowly climbing the steps. She hurriedly closed her umbrella, not even looking closely at the person's face, and quickly stepped under his. A faint scent of mint drifted by. That was her first impression of the boy. This fragrance was entirely different from Daniel Lawson's. It made her feel at ease. His pale hands held the umbrella's handle, and he wore a light purple t-shirt, his tall, lean frame towering over her. Lily Lawrence had to stand on one of the steps to be at his height. It was the first time Lily Lawrence had encountered someone even more handsome than Daniel Lawson. He appeared to be around 17 or 18, with refined, slightly delicate features, bright eyes like stars, and perfect lips, all exuding an irresistible charm. A silver moon pendant hung around his neck, partially hidden, adding to his allure. Lily Lawrence was momentarily stunned, her heart faintly stirred by the boy's appearance, but she didn't forget her purpose. Ignoring his surprise, she sincerely said, "Please, do me a favor." The boy, still surprised, looked at her with a puzzled expression. Lily Lawrence, not wanting to waste time, took his arm and walked with him up the remaining steps toward the hospital entrance. When she was close enough to overhear the conversation between the two people without being noticed, she stopped, turning to face the boy, pretending they were a couple in conversation. The boy's gaze shifted from initial surprise to intrigued curiosity, but he didn't disrupt her act. Standing across from Daniel Lawson was a tall, beautiful girl, her face exquisitely crafted like a work of art, yet somehow even more stunning than the celebrities with carefully enhanced features. She stood beside Daniel Lawson, and together they looked like a perfect couple, destined by fate. "I never thought I'd see you again." Her eyes glistened with tears, a mix of joy and bittersweet sadness making her appear fragile. "Have you been well all these years?" A faint light flickered in Daniel Lawson's deep eyes, his voice unusually gentle as he replied, "People like us, how well could we be?" The girl gave a bitter smile, but her eyes shone as she replied, "No, you're different. You're our prince, always exceptional no matter where you are." At these words, Lily Lawrence's fingers tightened involuntarily around the thermos in her hand, now cold to the touch. Daniel Lawson called out softly, "Melanie Turner," as if 1,000 words were on the tip of his tongue, yet he struggled to express the complex feelings within him. "Daniel Lawson, I missed you." Melanie Turner's pink lips, like rose petals, pressed together softly, her charming smile tinged with a dreamy quality, brimming with affection. Under that adoring gaze, she naturally extended her arms and embraced Daniel Lawson. "Melanie Turner, please, don't do this." Daniel Lawson was momentarily flustered, a rare reaction for someone usually so calm. His brows furrowed slightly as she pleaded softly, "Just let me hold you, don't push me away." Her voice was gentle, with a hint of tremor, making it hard for anyone to refuse. Not far away, Lily Lawrence had turned her back to them, but sensing something amiss, she couldn't help but glance over her shoulder. Her purple lashes froze, and her clear eyes took in the sight of the two of them locked in an embrace, like a scene captured in amber, becoming clearer as time passed. Raindrops fell quietly on the umbrella, slipping down and gathering into glistening beads before dropping to the ground. From a short distance away, amidst thousands of rain droplets, Lily Lawrence felt her heart strain as if stretched to breaking point, silently snapping with a pain that cut to the core. Daniel Lawson was holding another girl, so close. Until now, hadn't she always been the one closest to him? Why could someone else stand this close to him now? Her heart felt as though it were being gripped by an invisible hand, the pain almost making her lose her balance. The thermos in her hand began to slip. Almost at the same moment, a pale, slender hand reached out and caught the falling thermos. The boy sighed softly. "It smells delicious, century egg and minced pork congee. It'd be such a waste if it broke." His voice was gentle, fresh as mint. Instinctively, Lily Lawrence looked up, seeing a face so beautiful it was hard to believe. His bangs, dotted with tiny rain droplets, seemed playfully untamed, though he paid them no mind. Yet, in that moment, Lily Lawrence couldn't find joy, her heart felt as cold as ice. Her expression revealed contempt, even loathing, as she spoke coldly, then it's yours. Without another word, she turned and walked into the rain. The boy, his face sincere and earnest, called after her, "Hey. It wouldn't be right to accept such a heartfelt congee for nothing. If you ever need help, I'll be there without hesitation." When she entered the hospital lobby, Lily Lawrence was soaked from head to toe. A young boy of about 7 or 8 stared at her wide-eyed. An idea flashed in Lily Lawrence's mind. She approached the boy, knelt down, and pulled out a crisp bill, waving it lightly in front of him. "Do me a favor, and this money is yours." The boy immediately darted outside, running straight toward the couple embracing. Daniel Lawson and Melanie Turner were caught off guard, hastily pulling away from each other, but it was too late to avoid him. Melanie Turner stumbled, nearly falling into the rain. Before Lily Lawrence could even force a smile, she saw Daniel Lawson swiftly pull Melanie Turner back into his arms. The moment looked like a slow-motion romantic scene from a movie, with Melanie Turner forming a perfect arc in the air as she fell back into Daniel Lawson's embrace. The sight felt like a piercing light stabbing straight into Lily Lawrence's eyes, cutting through to her heart. She clenched her fists, her teeth gritted, her gaze as fiery as if it could burn the scene before her. She lifted her head slightly, her expression icy, pulling out a tissue and wiping her lips with increasing force, as if trying to scrub away something filthy, to the point where it could almost make her lips bleed. Daniel Lawson stood in front of her, his deep eyes unreadable, silently watching her. Lily Lawrence's face was flushed, but the corner of her mouth curved into a cold smile. "Humph, just my luck to get hit by a cockroach." Daniel Lawson chuckled, a chill settling somewhere within him, though he didn't seem to care. Sitting down lazily, he said, "The feeling of kissing a cockroach, it's something you'll never forget, right?" Lily Lawrence's face instantly paled, her fingers digging into her palms with discomfort, and waves of anger flared within her. Finally, unable to hold back, she shouted, "Daniel Lawson, you're such a coward, even your real parents didn't want you, you bastard." The room seemed to freeze suddenly, the silence so complete that not a sound could be heard, a cold light enveloping everyone. Daniel Lawson looked at her quietly, his eyes as deep as an abyss, his perfect smile remaining frozen yet cold. Yes, he was the abandoned child, forsaken by his biological parents, bullied by others, and in those dark childhood years, he had done things he couldn't bear to look back on. From her initial anger, Lily Lawrence began to feel unease creeping in. Living by his side all these years, she naturally realized that her words had struck Daniel Lawson's deepest wound. Though he remained silent, she no longer felt victorious, instead, a heavy sense of regret and anxiety pressed down on her. The two stood there in silence, neither speaking, as if time itself had stopped, leaving no past or future. After a long time, a phone rang, shattering the silence. Daniel Lawson pulled out his phone, frowning slightly at the unfamiliar number, then answered. A girl's urgent voice came through the line, "Is this Daniel Lawson?" The room was dead silent, with no one daring to breathe, the voice on the other end the only sound breaking through. After hanging up, Daniel Lawson lowered his hand with the phone, looking at Lily Lawrence with a heavy gaze. "Dad was in a car accident. He's in the ER right now." The news struck Lily Lawrence like a bolt of lightning. Down a long, dark stretch of road, a black Lincoln sped along. Inside the quiet car, Lily Lawrence and Daniel Lawson sat side by side, the coldness in the air like threads weaving deeply into their hearts. Lily Lawrence sat with her head down, her face pale as a petal, her hands tightly clenched. She looked like a lifeless doll, motionless, as if some danger lurked nearby, waiting to strike. Daniel Lawson sensed her fear and tension, and a hint of warmth softened his heart. His gaze showed a flicker of concern as he said gently, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." His voice was soft but carried an undeniable strength. Lily Lawrence's long lashes trembled, her tightly clenched hands slowly relaxed, and she whispered, "Yes, Dad will be okay." After a long, tense journey, they finally arrived at the hospital. The blazing sunlight reflected off the imposing hospital building, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. Almost heedless of everything around her, Lily Lawrence rushed inside, sprinting through the long hallway, into the elevator, and up to the highest floor. Each number changing on the elevator display felt like a weight pressing on her heart, making it nearly impossible to breathe. When the elevator doors opened, she faced a closed glass door etched with floral designs, and the red light above the emergency room shone brightly, piercing into her heart. Several people were waiting outside the emergency room. Black-suited bodyguards stood in 2 rows outside, and Thomas Lawrence's department heads and personal secretary waited nearby, their expressions tense. Lily Lawrence hurried over, clutching one of them urgently as she asked, "Annie Newton, how's my father?" The presence of Daniel Lawson and Lily Lawrence seemed to relieve everyone slightly, but their eyes became complex, unsure of how to explain. "Mr. Lawrence is still in surgery. The accident caused severe blood loss, and his condition is critical." Lily Lawrence's face instantly paled, like a flower losing its color. She gripped them tightly, using all her strength. "Let me in. I'm his biological daughter. No matter how much blood he needs, I'll give it, I just need him to survive." Her purple lashes were frozen, not even blinking, her eyes showing unwavering determination but also a profound fear she couldn't hide. Annie Newton consoled her gently, "Lily Lawrence, don't worry. Try to calm down. The blood bank has a supply matching your father's blood type, so there's no need to worry about that. What you need to do now is sit down and wait for the surgery's outcome." Lily Lawrence's voice shook, "But you said his life is at risk." Annie Newton explained, "Yes, there's a risk, but there's also a chance of success. The lead surgeon is the most reputable in the country. We should trust him." Under Annie Newton's reassurance, Lily Lawrence's taut nerves gradually relaxed, and she took a seat. Outwardly, she appeared calm, but her trembling hands betrayed her inner turmoil. Daniel Lawson looked at her intently, a complex mix of emotions, including a trace of bitterness, rising within him. He approached Annie Newton and lowered his voice. "What exactly happened? Why was Dad in a car accident?" Annie Newton recalled the incident heavily. "This morning, I and Director Tan were supposed to accompany Mr. Lawrence to an auction, but due to some delays, we were running late. He went ahead, and we were following behind him. When he reached an intersection, an elderly man suddenly darted into the road. Mr. Lawrence's car swerved to avoid him, and then the accident happened." Daniel Lawson's eyes flashed coldly as he asked in a low voice, "And where is that old man now?" Annie Newton was startled, realizing something, her face showing a trace of panic. "It was so chaotic at the time, we were only focused on taking care of Mr. Lawrence, and then the old man disappeared." Daniel Lawson clenched his fist tightly. Was this a coincidence, or had someone planned it? As time passed, the atmosphere outside the operating room grew quieter, with only the occasional nurse stepping out to report, "The surgery is still ongoing." The surrounding air seemed to reach a freezing point, a biting cold penetrating the skin and gripping each nerve. Small beads of sweat formed on Lily Lawrence's forehead, her worry was almost overwhelming. When she felt like she could no longer bear it, a strong hand gently held hers. Although it didn't bring warmth, it offered a slight sense of comfort. Lily Lawrence's rigid body felt frozen, and she didn't dare look up at him, but in that moment, she felt a surge of strength. Drawing on that strength, Lily Lawrence persevered, waiting. Finally, as night fell, casting the hospital in warm hues of orange, the long surgery came to an end. When the red light outside the operating room turned off, everyone's hearts tightened once more as they held their breath, waiting for news. Lily Lawrence quickly stepped forward to meet the doctor emerging from the room, anxiously asking, "Doctor, how is my father?" The doctor's tired face softened with a faint smile. "The surgery was very successful, but he hasn't yet passed the critical 24-hour period. As long as he wakes up within this time, he should be fine. Tonight, a family member should stay with him, talk to him as much as possible, and give him motivation to hold on. The nurses transferred Thomas Lawrence to a regular room, ensuring everything was set up. Afterward, Lily Lawrence and Daniel Lawson went to a quiet corner of the hallway. It was late at night, and outside the window, the sky glittered with thousands of stars, a cool breeze brushing gently across their faces. Lily Lawrence lifted her head, her expression resolute as she said, "I'll stay with Dad tonight." Her voice was filled with determination. Daniel Lawson refused without hesitation. "No, why not?" Lily Lawrence lifted her chin defiantly, her eyes shining with indignation. "I'm his biological daughter, I have the responsibility and the right to stay and take care of him." Daniel Lawson sighed, replying, "But you're the least reliable person here. You're always oversleeping, nodding off as soon as midnight hits if you're not in bed, and in the morning, you can't wake up without an alarm clock. And you think you can take care of Dad?" Lily Lawrence stared blankly at Daniel Lawson in front of her, her eyes practically blazing with anger. "You jerk," she hissed through gritted teeth. "Don't underestimate me. What gives you the right to doubt my ability to take care of Dad?" Just a moment ago, when their father was still in surgery, he had held her hand, and she thought he would be on her side, supporting and encouraging her. But no, it had all been an illusion. In his eyes, she would always be useless. Daniel Lawson's gaze was as cold as an icy lake, his voice devoid of any warmth. "Stop arguing pointlessly. If you refuse to go home, I have no problem dragging you back or even having you tied up and locked in your room. Without my permission, don't even think about stepping out." A wave of fear rose within Lily Lawrence, spreading from her feet and paralyzing her, making it hard to stand firm. Instinctively, she wanted to take a step back. She knew that Daniel Lawson was entirely capable of carrying out his threats. Clenching her teeth, Lily Lawrence muttered under her breath, "Daniel Lawson, you're such a lowlife. Our father is gravely ill, and yet you still treat me this way." She only wanted to stay by her father's side, to help her family through this difficult time. Daniel Lawson remained unyielding. "While Dad is lying in that hospital bed, you'd best behave and go home to rest." Lily Lawrence snapped back furiously, "Fine, I'll go. But if anything happens to Dad tonight, I'll hold you responsible." Her eyes widened, filled with icy defiance, as she cast a challenging look at him. Then, with one last glare, she strode past Daniel Lawson and made her way toward the hospital entrance. Lily Lawrence knew this would be a sleepless night. In the vast living room, she was alone, the cold, dazzling light of the crystal chandelier casting a harsh glow. Suddenly, her phone rang, startling her. A flash of panic crossed her mind as she quickly answered, instinctively asking, "Hello? How's my father?" From the other end came Luna Taylor's cautious voice. "Lily Lawrence, it's me." Lily Lawrence's heart sank, and she replied softly, "Oh, it's you, Luna Taylor." Luna Taylor spoke with concern. "I heard about your dad, you must be exhausted. Don't worry too much, he'll be okay." Thank you." Lily Lawrence's voice was hoarse, drained. Luna Taylor chuckled gently. "Silly, don't be so formal with me." After a moment, Luna Taylor's tone turned soft. "Lily Lawrence, could I stay over with you tonight? On a night like this, having a good friend close by would surely bring comfort." But Lily Lawrence still worried, "It's late, it's not safe for you to come alone." Luna Taylor replied teasingly with a mysterious tone, "Lily Lawrence, come to the door and see." Surprised, Lily Lawrence quickly ended the call and rushed to the front door. Crossing the long yard, even in the dark, she could make out Luna Taylor standing by the iron gate. Seeing Luna Taylor up close made Lily Lawrence's heart skip a beat. Luna Taylor, who always took great care of her appearance, now had disheveled hair and swollen, red eyes, clearly from crying. Her face was pale, like a flower wilted after a storm, looking utterly distressed. Luna Taylor forced a weak smile, her voice hoarse. Lily Lawrence, I didn't know who else to turn to, so I came to find you. I really don't know who else to go to. Lily Lawrence frowned, not out of irritation but out of sympathy as her heart ached with compassion. She gently took Luna Taylor's arm. No need to say anything more. Come inside. Lily Lawrence led Luna Taylor to her bedroom. Luna Taylor sat down by the bed, while Lily Lawrence made a warm taro milk tea and handed it to her. Then, hugging her pink plush pillow, she sat beside her friend. Luna Taylor held the warm milk tea cup tightly. It was a custom-made cup Lily Lawrence had ordered, with their favorite manga character printed on it, the sweet smile of the character holding countless beautiful memories. The fragrant aroma of milk tea filled the room, gently reaching Luna Taylor's senses. This smells so good, I can tell it's my favorite just by the scent. Luna Taylor lowered her head, carefully taking a sip of the warm milk tea, her pale lips finally feeling a bit of warmth. Lily Lawrence looked at her friend, her gaze heavy with concern. What exactly happened? The steam from the milk tea seemed to cloud Luna Taylor's eyes, and she gave a bitter smile. Lily Lawrence, we really are best friends, aren't we? Something unfortunate happened to both of us on the same day. Lily Lawrence abruptly stood up, looking at Luna Taylor with worry. Did something happen at your home? Seeing her friend's concern, Luna Taylor felt a twinge of guilt and gently pulled her back down to sit beside her. It's not as serious as that. Her voice softened, like a quiet sigh. Maybe I just overreacted. Although Luna Taylor said this, Lily Lawrence still noticed the sense of loss in her friend's eyes, like they were veiled by the darkness of the night. Luna Taylor took a deep breath, forced a bitter smile, and tried to speak casually. It's really nothing big, I just confessed to a boy and got rejected. That's all. Am I being overly sensitive? Lily Lawrence was stunned. Luna Taylor had always been beautiful and outgoing, with many friends, yet until now, her friendships had always been just that, friendships. But recently, Luna Taylor had become closer to a particular boy. Lily Lawrence hadn't met him, but from Luna Taylor's stories, she knew he was someone exceptional, enough to move even someone as proud as Luna Taylor. Experiencing love for the first time, Luna Taylor hadn't even had a chance to savor its sweetness before tasting the bitterness of rejection. Though Lily Lawrence had never felt that way herself, she understood all too well how much Luna Taylor was hurting. She looked at her friend with deep concern but couldn't find the right words to offer comfort. Luna Taylor raised her hand, signaling to stop. My situation is just a small thing, no need to comfort me. Let's not talk about this anymore, okay? All right. Lily Lawrence's dark, clear eyes looked at her friend as she tried to give a gentle smile, hoping to share some optimism with Luna Taylor. Luna Taylor softly brushed Lily Lawrence's hair. Lily Lawrence, don't worry too much. Mr. Lawrence is a good person, and with such good medical care, he'll definitely be all right. Tonight, we won't be alone. Outside the window, large roses nestled close together, gently swaying in the darkness, making faint sounds as if whispering stories of their own. The next morning, Lily Lawrence awoke from a restless night's sleep to hear the good news: Thomas Lawrence had woken up. She hurried to the hospital. In the quiet hospital room, Daniel Lawson had brought in a small potted plant from somewhere and placed it near the window to catch the morning sunlight. Holding a small watering can, he gently sprinkled a bit of water on the plant, then turned to see Lily Lawrence rushing into the room. Dad! Lily Lawrence called excitedly from the doorway. On the hospital bed lay Thomas Lawrence, looking slightly pale. He was wrapped in white bandages, with an 4-drip slowly administering medication into his system. He smiled weakly. I gave you all a scare this time, didn't I? Dad, you nearly scared me to death. How are you feeling now? Your injuries must be painful, right? Seeing the bandages wrapped around him, Lily Lawrence felt a mixture of worry and sadness. It's all right, just a small injury. I'll fight through it, Mr. Lawrence tried to say bravely, but unintentionally strained his injury, causing him to wince in pain. "Dad, are you all right?" Lily Lawrence asked, her voice filled with concern as she looked around, unsure of what to do. Daniel Lawson quickly moved closer, lowering the bed slowly and tucking the blanket around his father. "Dad, you shouldn't talk much right now. You just had some congee, you should rest. I've already taken a week off from school, so you don't need to worry about anything at home or the company. By the end of this week, when you and the company are both stable, I'll return to school." Mr. Lawrence looked surprised. "Taking a week off? That's not necessary. Your studies might be affected." Daniel Lawson smiled calmly, a hint of confidence in the slight curve of his lips. "Dad, it's just a week. It won't impact anything. You know you've never had to worry about my studies, this time is no different." Lily Lawrence couldn't deny it, though she pouted slightly. Mr. Lawrence nodded in satisfaction. "All right, you two go on now. I need to rest." Though Lily Lawrence wanted to stay with her father, she knew the most important thing right now was to let him rest and regain his strength. Just as they were about to leave the room, Mr. Lawrence suddenly called back, "Daniel Lawson, remember to take good care of your sister. We're a family, and harmony is the most important thing." Surprised, Lily Lawrence stepped forward, linking arms with Daniel Lawson. Her eyes sparkled, and a bright smile spread across her face. "Dad, just focus on recovering. Daniel Lawson and I will be on our best behavior and won't give you any worries." Instinctively, Daniel Lawson gently took Lily Lawrence's small hand in his free one, his lips curving into a perfect smile. "Yes, Dad, don't worry. I'll definitely take good care of Lily Lawrence." A look of contentment flickered in Mr. Lawrence's eyes. It was rare to see the two siblings getting along so well. It seemed that not everything from this incident had turned out badly. They walked out of the hospital room arm in arm, but after a few steps, Lily Lawrence quickly pulled her hand away. Daniel Lawson's gaze was deep as he looked at her meaningfully, crossing his arms, a smirk playing on his lips. "Turns out our little wild cat can act like a kitten sometimes." Lily Lawrence lifted her chin proudly. "You think you know me that well? Who else would know you better than me?" Daniel Lawson's words left Lily Lawrence silent. After so many years of living together, no one knew her better than he did. Every good and bad trait she had was as familiar to him as the back of his hand. A sense of unease rose within her, and Lily Lawrence huffed, "So what?" Daniel Lawson's smile grew more mysterious. "I'm not planning on doing anything, I'm just stating a fact." Lily Lawrence glared at him, annoyed. "Daniel Lawson, I'm warning you, stop acting like you know me so well." His eyes were full of meaning, and his smile deepened. "That's not up to you. Maybe you should work on hiding your thoughts better." Lily Lawrence's anger faded, replaced by a sarcastic smile. "I'm not like some people who look all dignified and serious on the outside but are full of shady schemes on the inside." She couldn't fully understand Daniel Lawson, nor the life he had experienced. Daniel Lawson's gaze was deep, and he gave a slight smile. "You're no different. No matter how good I am, I'll always be the hypocrite in your eyes." Lily Lawrence froze. His words were like a knife, stabbing straight into her heart. She suddenly realized that perhaps he'd always thought of her that way. The silence in the hallway was broken by the familiar ringtone of a phone. Daniel Lawson took his phone out, stepped aside to take the call. Lily Lawrence bit her lip gently, leaning against the wall. A few minutes later, Daniel Lawson ended the call and walked back over to her. Lily Lawrence had put so much effort into making porridge for Daniel Lawson, coming to him full of anticipation, and for what? To see him embracing another girl right before her eyes. "Damn it, Daniel Lawson. You jerk. Don't think I'll ever treat you kindly again." With a surge of anger, Lily Lawrence turned and ran into the hospital's inpatient area, her feet carrying her away as if trying to escape something, the panic in her heart mingling with wild, painful emotions. Daniel Lawson had seen Lily Lawrence angry many times, but he had never seen her like this. Usually, she was a bit stubborn, sometimes obstinate, but this time was different. It wasn't simply anger, it was more like a kind of playful sulking. From the moment she entered her father's room, she hadn't even glanced at him, fully absorbed in her tasks as if he were invisible. Yet this behavior had made Daniel Lawson feel her emotions more strongly than ever. A faint smirk lifted Daniel Lawson's lips as he quietly observed her every move. When she finished her tasks, he followed her outside. Beneath the shade of a large almond tree, Lily Lawrence finally came to a stop, sulking. Daniel Lawson stopped as well, the soft sunlight filtering through the leaves, casting dappled spots of light on the ground. Nearby in the garden, flowers bloomed, filling the air with a gentle fragrance. Lily Lawrence turned to him, glaring. "Why are you following me?" Daniel Lawson crossed his arms calmly, responding, "I just want an answer. What exactly did I do to make you so angry today, little girl?" The affectionate yet teasing way he called her made Lily Lawrence's anger flare even more, though she wasn't quite sure how to react. "Yes, that's right, I'm just a little girl," she spat out sarcastically. "And that pretty, seductive woman in your eyes must be a goddess, huh?" First thing in the morning, holding each other at the hospital entrance. She mimicked the sweet voice of the other girl, "Daniel Lawson, I missed you so much." Then, with a scornful tone, she added, "What a professional at being clingy. Not worried she'd disgust the whole hospital room? She's wasting her talent not working in a specific profession." Daniel Lawson frowned slightly, his gaze darkening. "Lily Lawrence, don't talk about Melanie Turner that way. She didn't do anything to offend you. Am I not even allowed to dislike her?" Lily Lawrence responded, her tone full of defiance. "Go ahead, keep defending her. If you're unhappy, take it out on me. I can't stand girls like that. Don't even think about bringing her to our house." Daniel Lawson replied sternly, "Melanie Turner is my friend. Please don't say hurtful things about her, all right?" Daniel Lawson's words only added fuel to the fire within Lily Lawrence. The more she listened, the angrier she became, her voice filled with resentment. "Defending her, are you? What is she to you, your lover? Let me tell you, I can't stand girls like her." Daniel Lawson maintained his cold demeanor. "She's a friend, and that's my personal business." His response left Lily Lawrence speechless, her face shifting with emotion before a fierce surge of anger overwhelmed her. She clenched her fist and punched him in the chest. Daniel Lawson stood still, letting her vent. Her eyes filled with hurt, tears threatening to spill as she pounded against him, yelling, "I don't care about your personal business. It's always been about you, from the time we were kids until now. Because of you, I've never been happy. Why did you have to come into my life? Why do you have to be so perfect, making me feel so inadequate? Why can't I ever measure up to you, you stupid jerk? I hate you." Suddenly, Lily Lawrence realized she was about to go too far and clamped her mouth shut, her face a mix of regret and disbelief at her own words. "What did you just say?" Daniel Lawson gripped her hand tightly, his gaze sharp, as if trying to see straight into her heart. Lily Lawrence avoided his eyes, responding coldly, "Nothing. I was just foolish to expect anything from you." Daniel Lawson looked at her deeply, noting every small reaction, but this time, he didn't press further. After a long silence, he slowly released her hand and shifted back to the main point, meeting her eyes as he spoke. "Lily Lawrence, don't think about that girl anymore. I can explain everything, but it's nothing like you. Think. Melanie Turner and I have known each other since childhood. We grew up together in the same orphanage. We relied on each other through the hardest years, so our relationship is more like siblings. So, they had that past together. In his most challenging days, Melanie Turner had been by his side. A relationship like that was likely one he would never forget. Lily Lawrence felt a tightness in her chest, a bitter and indescribable feeling creeping up, making her deeply uncomfortable. A lovely reunion of long-lost childhood friends. Why don't you find a cozy place to reminisce, then? You must have regrets leaving her so soon, right? She mocked. Lily Lawrence, I've explained the relationship between us, so could you drop the tone? Daniel Lawson's face turned colder, a hint of disappointment in his gaze. Forget it, we're never able to talk, are we? With that, he turned and walked away, stepping out from under the tree. The golden sunlight covered his back, and there was not a trace of hesitation in his steps. Lily Lawrence felt turmoil in her heart, clenching her fists and shouting, "Who are you to tell me what tone to use? Talk all you want, I couldn't care less about what you and she are." She stood there, like a small, enraged creature, looking even smaller under the shadow of the tree. But Daniel Lawson didn't look back, walking steadily into the bright sunlight. Lily Lawrence felt a deep emptiness within, as if trapped in a white void, desperately searching for a way out but unable to find one. Their relationship had always been strained, yet she couldn't understand why. After standing there for an indefinite time, she numbly took out her phone and dialed Luna Taylor's number. Luna Taylor heard the unusual tone in Lily Lawrence's voice and asked worriedly, "Lily Lawrence, where are you? Did something happen?" "Nothing happened," Lily Lawrence replied, her voice faint and weak. The flowers in the distance slowly lost their vibrant colors under the midday sun, leaving only a pale whiteness, just like Lily Lawrence's face at that moment. Her voice trembled slightly, choked with emotion. "I'm fine. Luna Taylor, am I a strange, stubborn, and unreasonable person? Am I someone people find annoying? Don't be silly, what are you talking about? If you were truly that unpleasant, would I be sitting here listening to you? But in Daniel Lawson's eyes, that's exactly what I am. Whatever I do, it's wrong, whatever I say only makes him dislike me more." On the other end of the line, Luna Taylor chuckled softly. "Maybe, in his eyes, you're just a stubborn, headstrong child who gives him endless headaches." Lily Lawrence remained silent, unsure of how to respond. Luna Taylor continued, "I've actually wanted to tell you something for a long time, but I always felt it wasn't the right moment. My dad said it might only make you more upset." "What is it? You think now's the right time?" "I don't know, but since we're already talking about it, not saying it would seem pointless." Luna Taylor paused, as if carefully choosing her words, then continued, "Lily Lawrence, we've known each other for years, and throughout that time, your biggest frustration has always been Daniel Lawson. Whether for better or worse, your life seems to revolve around him. You've done a lot, all for one single purpose." Lily Lawrence clutched her phone tightly, her heart racing as she held her breath, waiting for Luna Taylor's next words. "Don't overthink it, your only purpose has been to get Daniel Lawson's attention." Luna Taylor's words struck Lily Lawrence like a bolt of lightning, leaving her stunned and filled with a growing sense of unease. "Luna Taylor, stop saying such nonsense. Why would I try to get his attention?" Lily Lawrence immediately protested, her voice tinged with anxiety and fear. Luna Taylor chuckled softly and replied gently, "I knew you'd react like that. But don't fight it so much. What if it's true? Admitting you like Daniel Lawson would be easier than constantly denying it." What are you trying to make me admit?" Lily Lawrence stammered. "That you like Daniel Lawson," Luna Taylor said straightforwardly, leaving Lily Lawrence in stunned silence for a long time. Finally, Lily Lawrence's voice came through, calm yet tinged with sadness. "So what if I like him? I just saw him holding another girl." Luna Taylor's voice stretched with curiosity, as if she could picture what had happened. "So, did you lose control?" "The issue isn't whether I lost control." Lily Lawrence paused, a thought flashing through her mind, and she said, "Luna Taylor, can you help me look up information on that girl? I need every detail you can find." "No problem. Investigating people is my specialty," I could follow someone 24/7 without missing a thing. Good, I trust you. Lily Lawrence added, all I know is her name is Melanie Turner, around 18, and she grew up in the Graceful Refuge Orphanage. Time flowed like water, and in the blink of an eye, a week had passed. Thomas Lawrence's condition gradually stabilized, requiring only 4 drips and rest each day. So, following her father's advice, Lily Lawrence and Daniel Lawson prepared to return to school. Uncle Lou sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel tightly. The atmosphere inside the car was tense and silent, no one spoke. Lily Lawrence sat in the back seat, rolling the window down about 2/3 to let in the cool breeze, which felt refreshing, her hair blown into a carefree mess by the wind. The lovely scenery outside the window, like colorful clouds, flashed past her eyes before quickly disappearing. Daniel Lawson sat in the front passenger seat, frowning, holding a thick file folder. With a pen in hand, he took notes continuously, looking very busy. Occasionally, he glanced at Lily Lawrence in the rearview mirror. Her profile looked delicate and gentle, with a faint smile on her lips, as if she were absorbed in the scenery outside. Strands of her hair blew softly in the wind, creating a poetic scene that distracted him for a moment. Lily Lawrence, how long are you planning to keep up this stubborn act? If you're going to stay silent, you might as well yell at me instead. Daniel Lawson's voice held a hint of helplessness. Lily Lawrence continued to gaze out the window, seeming unaffected by his words. Daniel Lawson lowered his gaze, his eyes fixed on the documents, but his mind was elsewhere. Several days had passed, and Lily Lawrence still hadn't spoken a single word to him, treating him as though he were invisible. He genuinely wished she would argue with him as she used to, even if it was unreasonable, at least that would be better than this unsettling silence. The silence lingered until the car came to a stop in front of Nanyang Academy's gate. Looking through the gates, rows of blooming orchids cast a dreamy purple hue over the campus. A gentle breeze stirred the sea of flowers, creating rippling waves. Groups of students strolled leisurely beneath the canopy of pale orchids, some with headphones on, others eating breakfast, and a few engrossed in comic books. The familiar car rolled slowly into the campus and came to a stop in front of the lecture hall building. Lily Lawrence prepared to slip her backpack over her shoulder, while Daniel Lawson was already ready and stepped out of the car swiftly. His white sneakers touched the ground lightly, revealing long, straight legs, followed by a white t-shirt with finely detailed patterns on the hem, simple yet elegant. Finally, his familiar, handsome face appeared, instantly recognizable to the female students at school. Standing at the school gate after a week away, Daniel Lawson's lips curved into a slight smile, radiant as if a brilliant light had just shone down, making even the garden of silver orchids behind him seem to fade into the background. The nearby female students immediately let out excited screams, rushing toward him, their faces full of admiration. Daniel Lawson! Daniel Lawson! Welcome back. We missed you so much. Oh my God, you're finally back. It feels like half a century since we last saw you. I couldn't sleep or eat properly, just thinking about you every day. Lily Lawrence, just stepping out of the car, already heard those familiar shouts. Her delicate brows knitted slightly. At that moment, a slender female student approached, a sweet smile on her lips, her mouth shining with a color like fruit jelly. Holding a notebook in her hands, she spoke softly, "Here are the notes from last week that I took for you. Every lesson is here, and I've highlighted the important parts. You only need to glance over it to catch up." She even took all the notes for him. What a waste of effort, Lily Lawrence muttered under her breath in disdain, yet her gaze still drifted toward Daniel Lawson, curious to see if he would accept this girl's gesture. Lily Lawrence felt a slight pang in her heart, but Daniel Lawson merely chuckled, declining the notebook. "Thank you for your thoughtfulness, but I actually studied last week's material a month ago, so I don't need it. You put a lot of effort into this, so you should keep it to help with your own review." The surrounding girls, who had been feeling somewhat awkward, now couldn't help but laugh. Lily Lawrence, still in the car, also smiled slightly and prepared to step out. The girl standing before Daniel Lawson briefly showed a look of embarrassment. However, Daniel Lawson seemed indifferent to her discomfort and walked past her without breaking his stride. Just then, the girl's eyes flashed, her slender figure swayed slightly, and she fell toward Daniel Lawson. Daniel Lawson reacted instantly, catching her by reflex. The female students around them froze, the atmosphere suddenly tense. Lily Lawrence, who had just stepped out of the car, looked on with furious violet eyes, staring directly at the girl resting against Daniel Lawson's chest. The girl's beautiful face was pale, her trembling hands clinging to Daniel Lawson's arm, her eyes glistening as if he were her only lifeline. "Are you okay?" Daniel Lawson asked mechanically, his deep gaze showing no hint of emotion. The beautiful girl trembled slightly, her voice weak. "I twisted my ankle." Lily Lawrence gritted her teeth, muttering to herself, "She acts so well, why doesn't she just go win an Oscar?" She stepped closer, gently pulling the girl away from Daniel Lawson, her voice cold as she said, "Sis, my brother's quite busy. If you've twisted your ankle, let me take you to the nurse's office so you can get an anti-inflammatory shot, all right?" The pretty girl's face paled for a moment, but she continued leaning weakly on Daniel Lawson. "No need, I'll probably feel better soon," she murmured. "But it hurts a lot right now. Maybe you could just help me to class." Daniel Lawson responded calmly, "I think going to the nurse's office is better. An anti-inflammatory shot will make sure you're okay." The girl's face turned even paler, and Lily Lawrence felt a spark of surprise at how willingly Daniel Lawson played along with her little joke. Emboldened, she added with mock concern, "Need me to help you along, then? Or maybe someone could carry you there. It's only one shot, won't hurt a bit." The pretty girl's eyes grew anxious, and she hastily removed herself from Daniel Lawson's arms, mumbling, "No need. I can walk by myself." Lily Lawrence smiled lightly. "Don't push yourself too hard, all right?" The girl's face flushed bright red, and she backed away a few steps, avoiding Lily Lawrence's gaze as she hurriedly left. Soft laughter bubbled up from the crowd around them, and her face burned with embarrassment as she finally lowered her head and walked away in silence. The school bell rang, and the surrounding girls dispersed, their gazes lingering on Daniel Lawson as he walked away. "Well, little mischief maker, feeling any better after pranking someone?" Daniel Lawson crossed his arms, a gentle smile on his face as the sunlight cast a warm glow on his features, radiant as ever. Lily Lawrence stood there, watching the girl's retreating figure, and let out a cold huff. "Someone as pretty as that, I don't understand why she has to pull such a tired old trick." Daniel Lawson chuckled. "But if you hadn't stepped in, her little act might have played out perfectly." Lily Lawrence looked unsatisfied, turning to ask, "Perfectly? What do you mean by that?" She looked straight into Daniel Lawson's deep eyes, her words catching in her throat. Her long, violet lashes lowered slightly as the sparkle faded from her eyes, and she said nothing more. "Lily Lawrence, you don't have to be so unfair to me. I didn't do anything wrong this time, so why are you ignoring me again?" Daniel Lawson looked at her helplessly, his gaze a mix of gentle affection and playful teasing. Lily Lawrence's eyes sparked with irritation, and she sneered in reply, "You might not have done anything wrong, but I can't stand guys who are always surrounded by girls." "Really?" Daniel Lawson raised an eyebrow, his smile mesmerizing. "This isn't called attracting girls, it's an irresistible charm." Lily Lawrence glared at him, choosing not to respond, and quickly turned around to head toward the lecture hall in a huff. Daniel Lawson's voice called out from behind, "I'll bring lunch for you at noon." Under the morning sun, Lily Lawrence's hurried figure looked both flustered and rushed. Today seemed far from peaceful. From the very first class, she felt an odd sense that a mysterious gaze was following her, unsettling her with a faint sense of discomfort and unease that lingered until lunchtime. She had a habit of enjoying an ice cream during lunch breaks, something Daniel Lawson frequently disapproved of, so she hurriedly rushed out of the classroom before he could arrive. "Lily Lawrence, someone's looking for you." Lily Lawrence heard someone call out as she dashed off but didn't stop. She noticed the girl who had called her seemed to disappear almost instantly. Lily Lawrence hesitated momentarily. Who could be looking for her other than Daniel Lawson? Imagining he was probably heading to class soon, she picked up her pace even more. Yet as she moved from the lecture hall, down the path lined with silver orchids, and even through the garden near the fountain, everyone she passed seemed to say the same thing: "Lily Lawrence, someone's looking for you." A growing question mark loomed in her mind. Could it really take so much fuss to find one person? Deep down, she didn't appreciate such fanfare. Even at the ice cream shop, she couldn't escape it. The shop owner smiled. "Are you Lily Lawrence? Someone was just asking about you." "Who was it?" Lily Lawrence asked, her curiosity piqued. With a twinkle in her eye, the shop owner replied, "A very handsome young man." Lily Lawrence froze momentarily, uncertain of how to respond. She took her strawberry ice cream, her mind tangled with questions, and made her way back to the lecture hall. Unsurprisingly, every friend she encountered couldn't resist teasing her. "Hey, since when did you have such a good-looking admirer? You have to introduce him to us. He's like a prince out of a dream." Everyone's comments only left Lily Lawrence more confused. The strawberry ice cream slowly melted in her mouth, but she found herself at a loss for thoughts, a tangled mess of emotions making it hard to swallow. Very handsome. A Prince Charming. Do I even know this person? The more she thought about it, the more puzzled she became. Who was this person who had so publicly sought her out? Just as Lily Lawrence's thoughts spun in disarray, a breathtaking scene appeared before her. Under the silver orchid trees, a tall, strikingly handsome young man stood there, holding a phone. He smiled as he greeted someone and leaned down slightly, showing them something on his screen as if he was asking for directions. Surrounded by blooming orchid flowers, the young man looked like a character straight out of a manga. The silver moon necklace around his neck glinted in the sunlight, creating a scene both stunning and surreal, like a page from a dreamy fairy tale. A strong feeling surged in Lily Lawrence's heart as she slowly approached the young man. Before she could clearly make out his face, he had already started speaking to her just as he had to everyone else he encountered. "Excuse me, have you seen this girl? If you have, could you please let her know that I..." When Lily Lawrence finally saw the young man's face, her heart skipped a beat as if thousands of shooting stars had cascaded down into his clear eyes, sparkling brightly. "At last, I've found you." His thin lips spread into a smile, as radiant as a blossoming flower, his eyes filled with pure joy. Despite the slight irritation brewing inside her, facing that face, Lily Lawrence couldn't help but admire his beauty, a face that felt strangely familiar. She quickly suppressed her thoughts and asked seriously, "You're the one who's been looking for me?" "Yes, it must have been heaven's grace. After only 3 days, I found you." Underneath his fair neck, a silver moon pendant sparkled as he smiled, a smile so bright it seemed to light up even the darkest corners of one's soul. Lily Lawrence looked at him skeptically. "And what exactly do you need from me? You really don't remember me?" The young man hesitated, a flicker of disappointment crossing his eyes before a glimmer of hope returned. "Try to remember, we met just a few days ago." Lily Lawrence was entirely lost. "I meet plenty of people, I honestly don't recall you at all. I went through quite the ordeal to find you, only for you to forget me," he said, a hint of sadness tugging at his mouth, like a silver orchid petal falling gently to the ground behind him. That touch of sadness tugged at Lily Lawrence's heartstrings, and she asked softly, "So, why exactly were you looking for me?" "There's something I need to return to you." Lily Lawrence raised her eyebrows, clearly intrigued. "What do you owe me?" "Exactly, and that's why I was so determined to find you. I've been to 3 different high schools, carrying your picture and asking everyone I met. Finally, I found you today." Lily Lawrence's gaze fell on the screen of his phone, which displayed a photo taken in the rain. Amid the misty drizzle, under a blue umbrella, the silhouette of a girl holding a thermal container leaned to one side, her face perfectly captured. The image jogged her memory, so it was him. Lily Lawrence distinctly remembered that moment but had been so focused on Daniel Lawson and the other girl that she'd completely overlooked this young man's presence. Seeing herself caught in such a disheveled state, Lily Lawrence blinked and gave a sheepish smile. "So, you're talking about that thermal container?" "It doesn't matter, you don't have to give it back," the young man said, smiling gently. Lily Lawrence couldn't hide her surprise. Had he really gone to all this trouble just for a thermal container? It was hard to believe. "All right," he continued with an easy smile, not pressing the issue, "but, hey, Lily Lawrence, could I be your friend? A guy as good-looking as him, who could say no?" Yet under her long, purple lashes, Lily Lawrence's clear eyes looked directly at him, as if she could see through everything. "You did all this just because you wanted to be friends with me?" she asked, a hint of suspicion in her tone. The young man's smile remained pure and warm, unclouded by ulterior motives. "Right now, I just want to be friends with you." "Are you a student at our school?" she asked. "Not before, but starting today, I'll be one." Lily Lawrence blinked, processing his words, and the young man quickly added, I almost forgot to introduce myself." His lips lifted into a slight smile, showing adorable dimples that made him both captivating and charming. "My name is Nicholas Hayes, Nicholas like honor and Hayes like journey. I just turned 18, I'm 182 centimeters tall, and a Gemini. As for my personality and skills, well, you'll see in time." Nicholas Hayes, that's a lovely name. Lily Lawrence's cheeks flushed, like blooming peach blossoms. Her heartbeat sped up, and her shy expression made her seem slightly flustered. Suddenly, a voice without a hint of warmth called from afar, "Having so much fun that you've forgotten about lunch?" Daniel Lawson stood beneath the silver orchid tree, his arms crossed, exuding an unmistakable chill that demanded attention. His intense gaze focused directly on Lily Lawrence, sharp as a blade. Lily Lawrence's eyes flashed with irritation. "Daniel Lawson, why are you here?" Daniel Lawson walked over steadily, completely ignoring Nicholas Hayes standing before her. His gaze was fixed solely on Lily Lawrence. He swiftly took the ice cream from her hand. "Lily Lawrence, you're being naughty again." Lily Lawrence pouted as she watched her ice cream being taken, her lips in a small, indignant pout. "What's wrong with having some ice cream?" Daniel Lawson replied nonchalantly, "Nothing, as long as you don't complain about your stomach hurting later." "Don't just say things like that." Lily Lawrence's face flushed a deeper shade, resembling a ripe peach as she protested softly. "I don't get stomach aches that often, only occasionally." "Dare you say you don't?" Daniel Lawson narrowed his eyes, his gaze fixated on Lily Lawrence. Lily Lawrence pressed her lips together, unable to refute him. Daniel Lawson reached out as if by habit, wrapping his arm around Lily Lawrence's shoulder. His gaze shifted slightly toward Nicholas Hayes, his voice low but filled with authority, "If you want attention, don't drag Lily Lawrence into it. I don't want her life disturbed." Though Lily Lawrence didn't particularly appreciate Nicholas Hayes's pursuit, hearing Daniel Lawson's words made her frown and look at him, irritation flaring in her eyes. "You, Lily Lawrence," Daniel Lawson interrupted, his middle finger brushing gently against the corner of her mouth, wiping away a small smear of ice cream, a tender and intimate gesture. Lily Lawrence froze, feeling a current run through her entire body, every sense focused on the corner of her lips where he had touched her. Daniel Lawson leaned down, his gaze gentle, "Let's go eat. There's something you like today." Lily Lawrence hesitated for a moment. "But," Daniel Lawson raised a brow, "is there anything else you want to say to him?" Lily Lawrence's mind went blank, she couldn't think of anything to say. She and Nicholas Hayes were barely acquaintances. Seeing her silence, Daniel Lawson wrapped his arm around her shoulder and guided her away. After walking a few steps, Lily Lawrence suddenly remembered something and instinctively turned back to look at Nicholas Hayes under the silver orchid tree. The young man gave her a radiant smile, and in that moment, it felt as if the whole world faded before his smile. "You were acting very strange earlier." Lily Lawrence rested her chin on her hand, her delicate face framed by her long, violet lashes, which fluttered slightly in the sunlight. Her clear eyes were fixed on Daniel Lawson as he unpacked her lunch. Daniel Lawson looked up occasionally while busy arranging her meal. "Strange, how?" "I mean, just now, the way you treated him," Lily Lawrence began, but Luna Taylor suddenly appeared, cutting in, "Hey, I heard there's this really good-looking guy searching for you all over campus. So many people are talking about it, but I haven't seen him yet. Is he really that handsome? Who is he? You know such a good-looking guy and didn't tell me?" Luna Taylor's questions poured out, only stopping when Daniel Lawson's deep, piercing gaze shot her way. Seeing Daniel Lawson's expression turn displeased, Luna Taylor offered a sheepish smile. Right, let's focus on eating." "Lily Lawrence, you were saying," as usual, Daniel Lawson peeled the shrimp meticulously, placing the succulent pieces into Lily Lawrence's bowl. Without any hesitation, she quickly picked one up and savored it with delight. Little did she realize, however, that this scene had caught the stunned attention of many onlookers. Outwardly, Lily Lawrence maintained a calm demeanor, but internally, she couldn't ignore the unusual atmosphere. After finishing the last piece of shrimp Daniel Lawson had prepared, she couldn't help but ask, "Daniel Lawson, tell me the truth, why are you sometimes so nice to me?" His eyes sparkled with a hint of mystery. "For example, every time I ask you to help me with homework, you never say no. You're so good to me, there must be some hidden motive, right? Are you trying to make me lazy so that I won't have a future?" The corner of Daniel Lawson's lips curved into a gentle smile. "Exactly." Lily Lawrence's face slowly fell, and she muttered, "So you just want me to be worse off than you?" His smile grew deeper, and his eyes glimmered as if holding an entire galaxy, captivating anyone who looked into them. "That way, later on, I'll have a legitimate reason to take care of this little princess." In that moment, Lily Lawrence felt as if she had wandered into a dreamy world where everything around her seemed too beautiful to be real. Outside the window, clusters of silver orchids bloomed under the sunlight, their delicate blue-violet petals swaying gently in the breeze, like soft, graceful smiles in a picture-perfect scene. After leaving Lily Lawrence's class, Daniel Lawson headed straight to his own classroom. As he walked along the orchid-shaded path, he noticed a tall, familiar figure nearby. Ignoring him, Daniel Lawson continued walking, only to be stopped by a quiet chuckle from Nicholas Hayes. "Just because you dislike someone, does that give you the right to insult them?" Daniel Lawson paused, turned around, and looked icily at the handsome young man. "Yes, I don't like you, especially those with bad intentions toward Lily Lawrence." Nicholas Hayes's gaze remained calm and steady, with no hint of agitation, as he responded smoothly, "She's your sister, not your pet. Who gave you the right to interfere with her interactions with me?" The corner of Daniel Lawson's mouth lifted into a cold smile. He took a step closer, looking straight into Nicholas Hayes's eyes, and replied, "The right? Being her brother is more than enough, while you are nothing." Nicholas Hayes's expression remained unperturbed. "As her brother, you should do whatever it takes to keep her from getting hurt." Daniel Lawson's face darkened, anger flashing in his cold eyes. His voice turned sharp as he replied, "Who are you to say that to me?" Nicholas Hayes chuckled softly. "What I am now doesn't matter, but in the future, who knows?" His voice was light but filled with unwavering confidence, as if nothing could stand in his way. Daniel Lawson clenched his fists, anger burning in his eyes. "I'm warning you, stay away from Lily Lawrence." Daniel Lawson's anger was like a lion protecting its treasure, yet Nicholas Hayes remained unruffled. "Not even God could stop me." He stepped closer, leaning in to whisper in Daniel Lawson's ear, "What do you think you are?" Daniel Lawson's gaze grew dark, like a dense forest under the midnight sky, cold and dangerous. In Lily Lawrence's classroom, sunlight poured through the window, casting a gentle warmth. Having just finished her meal, she felt as radiant and refreshed as the silver orchids blooming outside. She lazily flipped through a manga she had read many times, finding a cozy comfort in every familiar page. Someone tapped her shoulder gently, and Luna Taylor's sweet voice chirped beside her, "Hey, little satisfied kitten, could you not let your happiness show so clearly on your face?" Lily Lawrence's cheeks flushed a little. "I'm not. Not, really. He even peeled shrimp for you. He just stopped short of feeding you himself. Do you know how jealous the girls in class are? Haven't you noticed? There are always a few girls watching through the window." Luna Taylor winked playfully, adding, "Think about it, Daniel Lawson treats you exceptionally well. Haven't you noticed that he only acts like this with you?" Lily Lawrence smiled but shook her head. "You're exaggerating." Luna Taylor laughed and nodded, "Maybe I am a bit jealous. But despite that, I still have something to tell you." Lily Lawrence looked at her, puzzled. Luna Taylor's eyes took on a serious glint. "As far as I know, your Daniel Lawson has been getting close to a certain girl lately." The moment those words left Luna Taylor's mouth, the light of happiness in Lily Lawrence's eyes dimmed. Under the sunlight, her fair skin seemed even more delicate. She clenched her manga tightly, her fingers pressing in until the pages bent. She whispered, "Did you find anything out about her?" Luna Taylor's eyes glimmered mysteriously, and a slight smile tugged at her lips. "Tonight, I'll take you somewhere, and you'll understand." After dinner, Lily Lawrence put on a dark cloak, did a quick spin in the mirror, and gave herself an approving nod. She left her bedroom, her gaze unconsciously sweeping over a familiar figure nearby. Almost instinctively, she looked over and saw Daniel Lawson, tall and lean, leaning against the wall between their rooms. In the side profile, his features appeared even sharper and more striking. Lily Lawrence steadied herself as Daniel Lawson slowly turned toward her, his deep-set eyes calm as he looked at her. His voice was low and steady, "Going out?" I'm just going for a walk, with Luna Taylor for a bit." Lily Lawrence looked down, afraid that if she met his gaze, he'd see right through her. Daniel Lawson showed no suspicion, he gave a slight nod. "Then make sure you're back early. Don't stay out too late." "I'm going now." Lily Lawrence quickened her steps, feeling as if Daniel Lawson's gaze was still lingering on her back. She instinctively quickened her pace as she descended the stairs. The city at night was radiant and enchanting, the busy traffic lights gleaming like a miniature Milky Way, sparkling with starlight. A taxi slowed to a halt by the curb, and Lily Lawrence stepped out, greeted by the colorful neon sign reading, 10 Deep. Beneath the neon lights, Luna Taylor promptly approached her, linking her arm through Lily Lawrence's. "You're right on time." "I'm not late, am I?" Lily Lawrence asked. "No, just on the dot." Luna Taylor looked her over from head to toe, then pondered for a moment before saying, Your look needs a slight adjustment." Instinctively, Lily Lawrence glanced down at herself, puzzled. "Is something wrong?" "Your hair." Luna Taylor tapped lightly on her head, and as Lily Lawrence looked at her in confusion, Luna Taylor suddenly broke into a playful smile. "But don't worry, I've got just the thing." With a magician's flair, Luna Taylor pulled out a dark wine-red wig. When it was on, Lily Lawrence instantly appeared more mature and alluring. Luna Taylor grinned in satisfaction. "Now no one could guess if you're 17 or 27. Lily Lawrence wasn't too concerned about her appearance, but her gaze drifted toward the alleyway, a hint of anticipation in her eyes. "All right, come on." Luna Taylor took Lily Lawrence's hand, guiding her toward the entrance of a bar called La Non. A young man in a uniform stood at the door, bowing respectfully as he invited them in. After a few steps, the flickering neon lights from outside disappeared, and they found themselves in pitch-black darkness. Lily Lawrence's body tensed instinctively, and she tightened her grip on Luna Taylor's arm. Luna Taylor didn't fare much better, her voice betraying a hint of nervousness as she asked, "Sir, why is it so dark in here?" The young man leading the way replied calmly, "This must be your first time here, right? Don't worry, this is just a passage. We'll be there soon." Though his answer didn't entirely reassure them, both girls mustered the courage to keep going. They clung tightly to each other's hands, fearing that if they let go, some unseen force might drag them away. Lily Lawrence's hand grew clammy with sweat, and a rising sense of dread kept her silent. After what felt like an oppressively long walk, light finally broke through the darkness. Flickering lights and the powerful beat of music filled the air, mingling with the faint scent of alcohol. The bar scene unfolded before them, with flashing lights and pounding music. Rather than bringing excitement, the noisy atmosphere only made both girls feel uneasy, like an overtuned guitar string ready to snap. They winced at the discordant energy around them. Once their eyes adjusted to the lights and the music, Lily Lawrence and Luna Taylor started scanning the crowd. Winding through the dancers, they made their way past swaying bodies under the dim lights. Finally, they found a small table in a hidden corner and took a seat. Across the room, a young bartender was showing off his mixing tricks, capturing the admiration and cheers of patrons gathered at the bar. They each ordered a margarita, and Lily Lawrence followed Luna Taylor's lead, taking a cautious sip from the high glass. Her limited tolerance for alcohol made the burning warmth spread quickly from her mouth to her throat, and her cheeks flushed a bright pink. Still, her gaze continued scanning the room instead of focusing on her drink. After a while, Lily Lawrence looked over at Luna Taylor in doubt. "Are you sure he works here? And do you think we'll actually find him?" Luna Taylor gave her a mysterious smile. "My private investigator gave me very accurate information, he's here every night. Don't worry, we'll definitely find him." Though not entirely convinced, Lily Lawrence focused her attention and resumed searching. Just then, a few unfamiliar men approached them, their eyes glinting with mischief. "Two pretty ladies like you, how about joining us for a drink?" Without hesitation, Luna Taylor placed her purse on the empty seat beside her and responded coolly, "Sorry, we're waiting for a friend. We'll drink once he arrives." The man clearly wasn't ready to give up and took a step closer when suddenly, a security guard appeared behind him, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "Excuse me, sir, if you would come this way for a moment. We need to discuss something." The guard's voice was polite but left no room for refusal. Reluctantly, the man retreated. Lily Lawrence, surprised, turned to Luna Taylor. "Did you arrange for someone to look out for us?" Luna Taylor shook her head, equally confused. "No, I didn't arrange anything." As they tried to make sense of the situation, Luna Taylor's eyes suddenly lit up. She tugged on Lily Lawrence's arm and pointed, her voice full of excitement. "Hey, isn't that him?" From the bar entrance, a couple entered laughing. Lily Lawrence immediately recognized the beautiful girl walking beside a middle-aged man. It was none other than Melanie Turner, Daniel Lawson's childhood friend. Lily Lawrence's gaze followed Melanie Turner's every move. She looked glamorous and confident, holding a glass of wine, her red lips highlighted as she took a sip. The man beside her downed the rest of her wine as they continued their animated conversation and laughter. A chill ran down Lily Lawrence's spine. Luna Taylor couldn't hide her disdain. "What kind of people does your brother associate with?" Lily Lawrence pursed her lips, her voice laced with irritation. "They're childhood friends." "Childhood friends? So what?" Luna Taylor smirked, quickly pulling out her camera from her bag and adjusting the settings. "Scenes like this are too good not to capture." Right at that moment, a strong hand reached over, snatching the camera away. A cold, familiar voice echoed, "You don't need to concern yourselves with this." Lily Lawrence and Luna Taylor looked up in shock. Standing before them was Daniel Lawson, his face cold as ice, eyes dark and dangerous. Lily Lawrence was stunned, speechless. Daniel Lawson shot her a piercing glare, his tone an icy warning. "I'll deal with you when we get home." Then, he swiftly removed the memory card from the camera, holding it firmly in his hand. His gaze shifted to the distant couple, Melanie Turner and the middle-aged man seated together. The man's behavior was growing increasingly inappropriate, his advances becoming more blatant, while Melanie Turner continued to smile, though her eyes betrayed growing discomfort. Unable to restrain his anger, Daniel Lawson marched straight toward them. Lily Lawrence whispered nervously to Luna Taylor, "What should we do? This could get ugly." Luna Taylor remained unfazed, a small smile playing on her lips. "Why worry? Let him see firsthand what his so-called childhood friend is really like. Isn't that better?" Daniel Lawson grabbed the collar of the middle-aged man, giving no warning before landing a punch squarely on his face. Blood trickled from the man's nose, leaving him dazed. Melanie Turner was frozen in shock, unable to process Daniel Lawson's explosive anger. Punch after punch landed until the man crumpled to the floor, defenseless. Melanie Turner rushed forward, sobbing as she tried to stop him. "Daniel Lawson, please. Stop. You'll be in serious trouble if you keep going." Daniel Lawson roared, his eyes blazing with fury, "Do you think I could just stand by and watch him humiliate you?" Melanie Turner lowered her head, whispering softly, "This is my life, you don't need to interfere." Hearing her words was like a stab to Daniel Lawson's heart. The emotion drained from his gaze, leaving a hollow pain. "Melanie Turner, when did you become like this?" Lily Lawrence stepped forward, her tone laced with biting sarcasm. "The pay here must be great, right? Otherwise, why would she choose this job?" Daniel Lawson's fury flared up, and he shouted, "Shut up." Lily Lawrence took a step back, stunned by his outburst. She felt a surge of indignation but swallowed it down. "Did I say anything wrong? She chose this job. Isn't this what she wanted? Lily Lawrence, you'd better go home now. I don't want to see you here anymore." Daniel Lawson yelled, his eyes filled with anger. Her heart felt like it was plunging into an endless abyss. She wanted to cry, yet no tears would come. His cold words echoed in her ears as he pointed toward the exit, "I don't want to see you anymore." Though he spoke softly, his voice was filled with an icy finality, like the gentle breeze that, in its lightness, could still cast her into a pit of despair. The words were like a dagger, pushing Lily Lawrence deeper into heartbreak. With pain consuming her, she turned and bolted, stumbling at first before breaking into a frantic run. Luna Taylor, unable to bear the scene, hurled her purse at Daniel Lawson. He remained motionless, like a stone. Luna Taylor yelled in anger, "You jerk. How could you say that to Lily Lawrence? I'm telling you, if you don't apologize to her, I won't let this go." With that, she spun around and dashed after Lily Lawrence. Outside, neon lights flickered, cars passed in waves, but she couldn't see her friend anywhere. Frantically, Luna Taylor reached for her phone, only to find her hand empty. She remembered she'd left her purse inside in her anger, with her phone and wallet still in it. Desperate, she had no choice but to head back into the bar, silently praying, "Lily Lawrence, please don't do anything reckless." For the first time, Lily Lawrence felt the city's night as cold as ice. Every light in her eyes had dimmed into shadows. She was like someone out of control, running without a destination, as if an invisible net encased her, leaving her with nothing but the urge to flee. She didn't know how long she had been running until, exhausted, she collapsed onto the ground. Only then did she realize. She was in an unfamiliar park. Sitting on the cold stone path, she gasped for breath, as if she'd just finished a marathon, her heart on the brink of exhaustion. Her whole body ached, the discomfort spreading through every fiber. As the weight became unbearable, a strangled sob burst from her throat, Daniel Lawson, you're a jerk, a horrible person. You're nothing but a pig. She mumbled to herself, that's exactly what he is. Did I say anything wrong? Who is he to me? Sitting on the ground, Lily Lawrence cried uncontrollably, tears streaming down her cheeks. She clenched her hands on the soft grass, pouring all her anger and frustration into her fingers. She yanked at the blades of grass, showing no mercy. If you care about her so much, then go ahead and care for the rest of your life. I wish the two of you, miserable couple, grow old and gray together. Lily Lawrence bit her lip, venting her anger on the grass. Images of Daniel Lawson filled her mind, refusing to fade. Horrible, ugly Melanie Turner. Daniel Lawson, you're the worst. You pig-headed fool. You stupid ox. She spat out every insult she could think of. Suddenly, a gentle hand rested on her shoulder. Lily Lawrence froze, a strange light flickering in her eyes. She quickly turned to see Nicholas Hayes sitting behind her, his expression soft, his eyes kind. Her eyes immediately dimmed, a darkness covering her heart, disappointment flooding her voice. He didn't even come after me. He really doesn't want to see me anymore, does he? Nicholas Hayes glanced down at her hand, where the grass lay uprooted and scattered. With a soft chuckle, he said, "Oh my, look at this. How many innocent blades of grass have you sacrificed here?" Lily Lawrence scowled, her heart overwhelmed by pain, her voice stiff, "I don't care. They're your thing, not mine." Nicholas Hayes nodded gently and replied with a warm tone, "So, the person you care about isn't here, right? No matter how much you cry, he won't know. You're only adding to your own sadness. Don't cry anymore. Next time you see him, cry as much as you want in front of him, so he's heartbroken." "I'm not crying." Lily Lawrence denied immediately, though Daniel Lawson's painful words echoed in her mind, "I don't want to see you." She bit her lip, trying to stop the tears, but her heart felt like it was being squeezed, an overwhelming pain. "Why should I even cry?" she muttered. Nicholas Hayes looked deeply into her reddened eyes, still wet with lingering tears on her soft lavender lashes. The tear streaks glistened on her pale cheeks, and he spoke gently, "Tears are the most precious thing a girl has. Whoever can make you cry like this is truly very fortunate." Hearing Nicholas Hayes's words, Lily Lawrence couldn't hold back anymore, her tears falling freely as she sobbed, "Could you please stop talking?" Nicholas Hayes raised his hands in surrender, smiling with a nod. All right, I've said too much. But listen, Lily Lawrence, sitting here won't solve anything. How about I take you home?" Lily Lawrence shook her head, her gaze showing resistance as she replied firmly, "I don't want to go home." "So, you're planning on sleeping out here?" Nicholas Hayes raised an eyebrow and gently reminded her, "There are plenty of bad people around here, you know." Lily Lawrence stopped crying and looked directly at Nicholas Hayes, her tear-streaked face still glistening as she asked in a hoarse voice, "So, are you a bad person?" He burst out laughing. "Who asks something like that so seriously?" Meeting her steady gaze, he replied sincerely, "I'm a good person." Lily Lawrence's eyes glinted with a spark of resolve as she said, "Take me somewhere. Anywhere, as long as it's not home." Nicholas Hayes hesitated, surprise evident in his gaze. "You really want to come with me?" "Of course." Half an hour later, a sleek silver Mercedes glided down the city streets, gradually leaving behind the bustling downtown and entering a peaceful suburban area. Tall trees lined both sides of the road, adorned with blooms, like elegant hosts welcoming them. A gentle night breeze swayed the branches, as if they were smiling softly. The night had grown late, and the moon's tender glow blanketed the ground, casting shadows of trees that swayed in the wind, creating a quiet, mysterious atmosphere. Lily Lawrence looked out the window, unaware that the car had stopped in front of an unfamiliar, small villa. Nicholas Hayes turned off the engine and glanced into the rearview mirror. She sat there quietly, almost blending into the air itself. The car was filled with her delicate fragrance, mingling with an unshakable sadness. The first time he had seen her was at the hospital entrance, standing in the rain, her gaze lost when she saw Daniel Lawson embracing another girl. And here she was again, crying because of that same person. If he truly loved her, he wouldn't make her suffer over and over. A silent vow resonated in Nicholas Hayes's heart. I will never let him hurt you again, I will protect you with all my heart. He quietly watched Lily Lawrence for a moment, then opened the car door, circled around to her side, and gently opened her door, smiling warmly. My beautiful princess, welcome to my castle. Lily Lawrence snapped out of her thoughts, her gaze finally focusing, her thin lips curving into a faint smile. Thank you. Before her was a small villa perched on a hillside, elegantly designed. The front garden was filled with unique and exotic flowers, and a trellis draped with ivy covered one corner of the yard, all creating a peaceful scene under the moonlight. The warm glow from the living room lights spilled out invitingly. Lily Lawrence hesitated, asking, Is this your home? Is anyone else here? Nicholas Hayes replied nonchalantly, My real home isn't here. This is just a private place of mine. Usually, a housekeeper comes by to clean and keep an eye on things. There's no one else. Lily Lawrence fell silent, but then the familiar ringtone of her phone broke the quiet. She pulled her phone from her pocket, glanced at the screen, and saw that it was Luna Taylor calling. She pressed the answer button, and Luna Taylor's worried voice immediately filled her ear. Lily Lawrence, where are you? I've been looking everywhere and couldn't find you. Where are you? Don't move, I'll come get you. No need, I'm somewhere very safe. You don't need to worry. Safe? How can I not worry? Where are you? Are you sure you're safe? For the first time, Lily Lawrence was this daring, following a nearly unknown guy to a strange place. She said it was safe, but her mind knew better. However, her voice was firm. I'm at a friend's house. I'm not coming home tonight. Don't bother looking for me. Go home, or your dad will start lecturing. But what about Daniel Lawson? It's nothing. I'm hanging up now. Hearing Daniel Lawson's name made her heart ache suddenly. She hurriedly ended the call and turned off her phone entirely. As she stepped into the small villa, the first thing Lily Lawrence noticed was that the place was filled with an artistic vibe. The design was simple yet sophisticated, with art pieces adorning the walls from the living room to the staircase. Delicate lamps cast a gentle light, making the paintings appear magical, almost lifelike. As soon as they entered the living room, a woman in her 40s descended the stairs with a warm smile. Young Master Nicholas Hayes, you're back. Miss Linda, this is my friend, Lily Lawrence. She'll be staying the night. Please arrange a room and prepare some clothes for her. Nicholas Hayes glanced at Lily Lawrence, casually handing her bag to Miss Linda. Could you put this away for her? Yes, of course, young master. Miss Linda turned to Lily Lawrence with a gentle smile. Miss Lone, would you like something to eat? Nicholas Hayes didn't answer, leaving the question to Lily Lawrence. Still feeling down and not at all hungry, she shook her head, attempting a faint smile. No, thank you. Staying here is more than enough, I don't want to trouble you further. Nicholas Hayes gave her a kind look. Don't worry about it. Head upstairs, freshen up, and get some rest. It was her first time spending the night somewhere unfamiliar, and it left Lily Lawrence feeling uncomfortable. After a quick shower and drying her hair, she found herself unable to sleep. Wandering out of her room, she idly glanced over the flawless artwork adorning the walls. The light reflected off her expressionless face, adding a melancholic beauty to her features. Click. The door of the room next to hers suddenly opened, and the voice of a young man rang out. Miss Linda, the light blue pajamas. Without thinking, Lily Lawrence turned toward the sound. Standing before her was Nicholas Hayes, his skin pale as snow, toned abs, a well-defined chest, and strong arms. His striking face was both handsome and intense. His thin lips parted, not quite finishing his sentence before Lily Lawrence's eyes widened in shock. She instantly turned away, her whole body tensing, heart racing. Realizing the situation, Nicholas Hayes quickly retreated into his room, grabbed a robe, and slipped it on before stepping back out. Seeing her tense posture, he couldn't help but chuckle softly. Is my masterpiece of a body really that terrifying? Lily Lawrence bit her lip in embarrassment. Why would you come out without wearing anything? Nicholas Hayes chuckled apologetically as he approached her. Sorry, I'm used to having the place to myself. I also have this habit of not liking pajamas, so it just happened. He stopped in his tracks and took a deep breath, his tone turning half playful. Well, I don't remember the shampoo here smelling this good. What are you doing? Lily Lawrence felt Nicholas Hayes inching too close, and she instantly turned to face him, her eyes wary. Her entire posture suggested she was on high alert, as if shielded in an invisible barrier, allowing no one to get too close. Her freshly showered fragrance filled the air, and under the light, her fair skin seemed almost translucent. Her guarded expression made Nicholas Hayes flash a faint smile. Then, unexpectedly, he placed a hand on her shoulder, pinning her gently against the wall. Nicholas Hayes, what are you doing? Let me go. Lily Lawrence struggled, but Nicholas Hayes didn't release her. His handsome face took on a dangerous look as he moved closer. If you dared to follow me here, didn't you consider this might happen? Nicholas Hayes's voice was soft, but the intent was clear. Lily Lawrence widened her eyes, her heart pounding in unease. She tried to push back the fear creeping up on her, doing her best to ignore the warmth of Nicholas Hayes's body and the heat of his breath so close to her. My instincts tell me you're not that kind of person. She kept her voice steady, her defiant gaze meeting his. Instincts are the most unreliable things, didn't you know? Nicholas Hayes's voice was laced with a teasing charm as his fingers softly brushed through the strands of hair falling over her shoulder, twisting each lock around his fingers. With every movement, Lily Lawrence grew more tense, her eyes flashing with a hint of coldness. If I've misjudged you, I'll take responsibility. But if you dare try anything, you'll pay for it 10 times over, Lily Lawrence replied firmly, her gaze steady and unyielding. A momentary shadow crossed Nicholas Hayes's expression, and he narrowed his eyes. You don't realize it, do you? Boys are the most dangerous and impulsive creatures. They act first and never think of the consequences. He moved closer to her, carrying with him the fresh scent of soap from his shower, until the space between them vanished entirely. Lily Lawrence instinctively tried to back away, but his hold kept her firmly in place. His hand reached up, lifting her chin to make her meet his gaze, their faces mere inches apart. Nicholas Hayes's lips curled into a faint smile as he leaned in, seemingly about to kiss her. Lily Lawrence clenched her lips together, forced to look into his face as he inched closer, her violet lashes trembling beneath the warmth of his breath. She truly felt a surge of panic. No one, aside from Daniel Lawson, had ever gotten this close to her before. This nearness left her unsettled, her chest tightening as her breath grew shallow. No, don't do this, don't. Lily Lawrence's face turned pale, her heartbeat racing faster and faster, as if her heart was about to leap out of her chest. Just as Nicholas Hayes's lips were about to touch hers, he suddenly opened his eyes, halting his movement. He looked at her for a moment, then gently released her. Now do you understand what it means to be afraid? He asked, his voice calm. I just wanted to warn you not to follow just anyone so easily. Not everyone in this world is as decent as I am. If it had been someone else tonight, you could have ended up in serious trouble. Do you understand? Nicholas Hayes gave a faint smile, his face revealing nothing. Lily Lawrence gradually relaxed her body, which had been tense to the extreme, but her gaze still held traces of caution and anger. What you just did, and you call yourself decent? She demanded, irritation evident in her voice. It was just an act, he replied with a slight shrug. Did you think my performance was convincing? He let out a soft, resigned chuckle, his eyes still warm. Yes, impressive indeed, but it only manages to annoy me. Move aside, I'm going to bed. Lily Lawrence couldn't discern the truth behind his words. Without a hint of politeness, she pushed him aside and walked directly toward the room that Aunt Lon had prepared for her. Outside the window, stars twinkled in the night sky, and the newly risen moon cast a soft glow, shining through the clear glass window, illuminating the darkened room. Lily Lawrence lay on the unfamiliar yet cozy bed, tossing and turning, unable to find sleep. Daniel Lawson, are you out on the balcony, gazing at the starry sky, or anxiously looking for me? Or perhaps you're with her, ignoring the beauty of this night, just as you ignore me? A pang of sadness rose within Lily Lawrence. She closed her eyes, but her mind continued to wander, drifting away. She knew that the second option was probably true. Morning came with the cheerful chirping of birds, like a melodious song. Just after she'd barely fallen asleep, Lily Lawrence's long eyelashes fluttered, her eyelids quivering slightly as the birdsong gently drew her from her slumber. Lily Lawrence sat up and quietly walked to the window, taking in the view outside. It was the first time she truly appreciated the scenery around her. The small villa was nestled among the trees, surrounded by tall trees with lush green leaves, like a beautiful painting laid out before her. Little birds occasionally fluttered through the forest, hopping playfully from branch to branch. The air was crisp and pure, as if freshly cleansed, and Lily Lawrence took a deep breath, feeling as though the whole world was untouched, unblemished. Everything was so beautiful, so dreamlike that it felt almost unreal, like a scene in a movie, fleeting, as if it could vanish at any moment, leaving only solitude and stillness behind. Unconsciously, Lily Lawrence looked down into the garden below and saw a lush flower garden in full bloom. Nicholas Hayes was sitting cross-legged on the grass, wearing a white t-shirt, with a sketchpad on his lap. His hand moved smoothly across the paper, his eyes shifting between the view and his work with a serious, focused expression. As he sketched, perhaps sensing Lily Lawrence's gaze, Nicholas Hayes paused, instinctively looking up to see her leaning against the second-floor window. The morning sunlight illuminated his face, bright and radiant. "Good morning," Nicholas Hayes called out softly. Lily Lawrence looked at him, momentarily stunned, as a warm light seemed to flicker within her, leaving her at a loss for words. She simply nodded gently before turning away. After changing her clothes, Lily Lawrence left her room, intending to go downstairs, when her eyes happened upon an interesting scene. Through the slightly ajar door of another room, she saw Nicholas Hayes's figure in that same white t-shirt, busy with his work. Lily Lawrence pushed the door gently, bringing the scene into sharper focus. The room was tidy and well organized, with bright-colored fabric swatches neatly stacked near the window. A silver sewing machine and various sewing tools were arranged meticulously. A few mannequins dressed in various designs stood around the room, and a large, unfinished design sketch lay spread across the table. Lily Lawrence found herself feeling oddly familiar with a workspace like this. Her father had once set up a similar studio for Daniel Lawson in their countryside home. Could it be that Nicholas Hayes was also? Lost in thought, Nicholas Hayes turned and smiled at her. "So, what do you think of my workspace? Are you a designer too?" Lily Lawrence asked in surprise. "You're only realizing that now?" Nicholas Hayes sounded a little disappointed, sighing as he replied, "Does my name not carry even a little recognition? After all, I have brought back a fair number of awards for the Chinese community." "Really?" Lily Lawrence had no knowledge of these achievements, her mind was entirely blank on the matter. Nicholas Hayes noticed her confusion but didn't seem bothered. He simply smiled and said, "It's all right if you didn't know. But remember this, Lily Lawrence, if you dare to forget the name Nicholas Hayes, I won't let you off easily." Lily Lawrence walked into the room, picking up an unfinished design lying on the table. Even though it was incomplete, she could already sense that it would become a stunning and mesmerizing dress. A strange feeling stirred within her, recognizing that the designer behind this piece was undoubtedly a perfectionist with natural talent. She glanced away, slowly asking, "And what would you do if I did forget your name?" Nicholas Hayes grinned mischievously, leaning close to her and softly replying, "I'll use the one way you'd least want." His unexpected action startled Lily Lawrence, making her instinctively step back, frowning. "Nicholas Hayes, I'm warning you. Try that again, and you can expect a punch." Rather than showing any fear, Nicholas Hayes looked at her with an exaggeratedly serious expression. "Lily Lawrence, is this how you treat your new classmates?" Lily Lawrence didn't anticipate that Nicholas Hayes, the one who often teased her, would end up causing such a sensation at school, sparking a wave of excitement that refused to settle. In the warm sunlight, a silver sports car glided through the gates of Tranquil Grove Academy, where the silver orchids were in full bloom. The car passed a black Mercedes at the gate, creating a fleeting moment. However, the young man inside the sports car's face quickly turned as cold as ice. The black Mercedes parked right by the entrance, and tension immediately rose between the two vehicles. Inside his car, Daniel Lawson narrowed his eyes, a piercing gaze flashing like lightning. Without a word, he started the engine and sped after the silver sports car, as fast as an arrow. Familiar with the campus, Daniel Lawson quickly turned the steering wheel, taking a dangerous turn and pushing the speed to its limit. Amidst the shocked stares of onlookers, he swerved his car sideways, decisively blocking the path of the silver sports car. Nicholas Hayes was forced to brake suddenly. Inside the car, Lily Lawrence couldn't react in time and was thrown forward, her head colliding with the front seat, sending a jolt of pain through her. She clutched her forehead, looking at Nicholas Hayes in surprise. "Why did you stop so abruptly?" Nicholas Hayes responded calmly, "Do you see the car in front? I'm sure it's not unfamiliar to you." Lily Lawrence looked up and instantly recognized Daniel Lawson's car blocking the road. A complex expression appeared on her face, and an uneasy look filled her eyes. Through the windshield, she could see Daniel Lawson's cold face in the car. His expression was as unyielding as it had been the previous day. A sense of discomfort rose within Lily Lawrence, as if she were aware of the tense confrontation waiting to unfold. Lily Lawrence opened the car door and stepped out, her gaze fixed on Daniel Lawson as he, too, got out of his car. Daniel Lawson's cold gaze rested on her, while in the distance, the silver orchids were in full bloom on the trees. Her delicate and gentle face beneath the blossoms was like an ethereal vision, somewhere between reality and illusion. It had only been a single night, but to Daniel Lawson, it felt as though much time had passed. Just one night, yet he had searched the entire city looking for her. Left with no choice, he had waited by the school gate as his last option. Yet, even now, the joy of seeing her again did little to alleviate his frustration. In Daniel Lawson's eyes, it wasn't only Lily Lawrence he saw but also Nicholas Hayes. His gaze darkened, filled with cold anger. He quickly walked over to Lily Lawrence, grasping her hand firmly, his deep voice laden with restrained emotion. "Lily Lawrence, you've become more daring, haven't you? Spending the night away, turning off your phone, and then coming to school with a stranger today. What were you thinking? You're the one I should be asking. What were you thinking, doing that to me?" Lily Lawrence retorted, refusing to back down, her voice seething with anger. "Don't think you can control me however you like. You're nothing to me." She angrily wrenched her hand from his, her tone icy. "Let me go." Daniel Lawson's expression became more solemn, a hint of sarcasm in the faint smile that crossed his lips. "Yes, I'm nothing to you. But what about Dad? Did you think of him at all? Last night, he was worried sick, didn't eat, didn't sleep." Lily Lawrence's face turned pale with disbelief, her fists clenched. "You told Dad?" Daniel Lawson's voice was chilling. "I didn't have the strength to both cover for you and search for someone who decided to run away. You forced me." Lily Lawrence shouted in fury. "I forced you? Daniel Lawson's voice grew colder, his gaze intense. Lily Lawrence, take a look at the truth. Can you truly say you bear no responsibility in this? Under Daniel Lawson's piercing gaze, Lily Lawrence fell silent, unable to say a word. Her eyes reflected a complex mixture of emotions, a storm of conflicting feelings. At that moment, Nicholas Hayes stepped out of his car, leaning casually against the door as he looked at Lily Lawrence with gentle eyes. Lily Lawrence, do you want to come with me to class, or would you rather talk to your brother first? His tone was friendly, but before Lily Lawrence could respond, Daniel Lawson strode over, angrily grabbing Nicholas Hayes by the collar. He growled, Nicholas Hayes, I warned you, stay away from Lily Lawrence. Without another word, Daniel Lawson threw a punch toward Nicholas Hayes. Everything happened too quickly for Lily Lawrence to react. Just as Daniel Lawson's fist nearly reached Nicholas Hayes's face, a figure suddenly leaped between them, grasping Daniel Lawson's arm firmly. It was Luna Taylor, who yelled, Daniel Lawson, stop it right now. Daniel Lawson's eyes flashed with displeasure, his tone sharp with warning, Luna Taylor, you'd best stay out of this. Luna Taylor smiled nonchalantly, whatever it is between you two, I don't care. But you don't get to hurt Nicholas Hayes. Lily Lawrence suddenly realized something, but it was clearly not the time to dig deeper. Daniel Lawson took a step back, releasing Nicholas Hayes. Luna Taylor glanced at Nicholas Hayes with genuine concern and asked gently, are you all right? Nicholas Hayes was visibly surprised that Luna Taylor had taken his arms so affectionately. Reflexively, he started to pull away, but Luna Taylor subtly tightened her grip, her voice sweet as she said, Sweetheart, if we don't go now, this little joke will turn into something serious. Nicholas Hayes was stunned for a couple of seconds. He glanced at Lily Lawrence, noticing her slight sigh of relief, and a shadow briefly crossed his eyes. Yet, he didn't resist Luna Taylor, only offering a slight smile as he walked away with her. Once they were out of Daniel Lawson and Lily Lawrence's sight, the smile on Luna Taylor's face quickly faded, and the two instinctively released each other's hands. Luna Taylor herself wasn't sure how she felt about what had just happened. Breaking the awkward silence, she couldn't help but ask, how long have you known Lily Lawrence? Why did you both arrive at school together? Did she spend the night with you? Nicholas Hayes remained composed and gentlemanly, smiling as he replied, you've asked quite a few questions at once. Which one should I answer first? But I find it odd, does any of this really matter? I thought we agreed that we're only friends, the kind who understand each other very well. Nicholas Hayes's words struck Luna Taylor like a plunge into an icy abyss, a wave of hopelessness and cold sweeping into her heart. Under the silver orchid trees, the space seemed isolated, wrapped in an unusual stillness. Pale purple petals drifted in the wind, gently landing on Lily Lawrence's shoulders. She stood motionless, facing the silver car, while Daniel Lawson leaned to one side, as if mocking the situation that had just unfolded. Lily Lawrence's small, delicate face flushed softly, though her eyes showed a slight hesitation. Her purple eyelashes trembled, and then she quietly took a step forward, murmuring, It's late, I have to get to class. Contrary to his earlier anger, Daniel Lawson's voice softened, carrying a hint of concern. Were you all right last night? Lily Lawrence's heart skipped a beat, and she lowered her head, her lashes casting a shadow as she whispered, I'm fine. Daniel Lawson exhaled in relief, his gaze softening as he looked at her, almost comforting. Lily Lawrence, I was too quick-tempered last night. I'm sorry for that. Painful memories began to resurface, and Lily Lawrence wasn't sure what to say. She closed her eyes tightly. You don't need to apologize to me. About last night, Daniel Lawson interrupted, his tone serious, almost pleading. Let's forget about it. Let's never bring it up again, okay? Lily Lawrence opened her eyes and looked at him in surprise, her voice faltering. It doesn't matter who was right or wrong anymore. The only thing I know is that I searched everywhere for you last night, just to apologize. Her eyes sparkled with regret, and her voice softened. Everything started because of me. I shouldn't have intruded on someone else's privacy from the beginning. Before she could finish, Daniel Lawson stepped closer, gently saying, "Lily Lawrence, promise me you'll let it go. We have to pick up Dad from the hospital this afternoon. He's just recovered, let's not burden him with our issues." Lily Lawrence froze, finally understanding that everything Daniel Lawson was saying was for their father's sake, for a quick reconciliation. She realized she might have been too sentimental. But could these troubling memories really be erased as easily as he made it sound? Under the silver orchids, the air seemed to hold still, the blossoming branches swaying softly in the breeze. Lily Lawrence fell into thoughtful silence. "Did you hear? Nicholas Hayes, the famous designer who won countless awards in Milan, has transferred to our class." "No way. How can that be? I've only ever heard his name but never seen him in person." "Is it true? Oh, didn't you see him just now? With that kind of presence, there's no way he's an imposter. But think about it. A talented guy like that, why would he leave Milan to come here? And even declare he's joining our class? Don't you know? Just think a bit, why did this spread around the whole school yesterday? Isn't it because of Lily Lawrence?" "That's right, it's because of our Lily Lawrence. That outstanding designer must be in love with her. The power of love. Oh, I'm so envious of Lily Lawrence. That day when he came looking for her at school, it was unbelievably romantic." Lily Lawrence walked into class, feeling weighed down by the chattering voices of her classmates, which made her face flush red and then turn pale. Her mind was a whirlwind of unnameable emotions, and a deep sense of unease rose within her. Her eyes quickly spotted Luna Taylor's small frame sitting by the window, quietly gazing outside. Lily Lawrence hesitated for a moment before finally making her way over and sitting across from Luna Taylor with a bright smile. "Luna Taylor, don't you think they're just so silly? They're gossiping about nothing as if it's all true." Luna Taylor turned to look at Lily Lawrence, her delicate face directed toward her friend as she sighed softly, "Is it really just gossip?" Lily Lawrence fell silent, her heart lightly shaken. Was Luna Taylor affected by these rumors? Or was this not just idle talk, but rather some misunderstood truth? The air between them grew still, Luna Taylor's gaze shifting gently before she suddenly laughed. "Look at you, all tense. You haven't stolen Nicholas Hayes, so why are you so worried?" Lily Lawrence chuckled, "I was just worried you'd misunderstand." "But why were you with Nicholas Hayes?" Luna Taylor replied calmly, "He's gone now. Earlier, you two seemed close. Have you reconciled?" Lily Lawrence asked cautiously, aware that her question might add tension. "Reconciled?" Luna Taylor let out a dry laugh. "The truth is, we were never truly in harmony, so there's nothing to reconcile. That night, I confessed my feelings to him, but he rejected me. He's the first person who's ever left me in such an awkward position. So, Luna Taylor was only helping him put on an act just now, don't overthink it." Lily Lawrence looked at Luna Taylor with a gentle sympathy, placing her hand softly on her friend's. "I believe that someone even better Thani Natonkalas Hayes will come into your life. You'll find him, I'm sure of it." Luna Taylor gave a wry smile, laughing at herself. How ironic. I've never even set foot inside Nicholas Hayes's home, and yet you got to stay overnight. Nothing really happened. I just needed a place to sleep for one night, Lily Lawrence quickly explained. "We're not even close friends." "You may think that, but do you really believe he feels the same?" Luna Taylor replied softly, her gaze drifting out the window. In the vast blue sky, soft clouds floated lazily, and the silver orchid flowers bloomed, resplendent like a painting. When Luna Taylor and Lily Lawrence had first arrived at this school, they both fell in love with its scenery. Now, the flowers still blossomed as before, but were their hearts still as untouched as in the beginning? Something felt like a barrier within Lily Lawrence, she knew that she had to find a way past it. Her expression grew serious as she looked straight at Luna Taylor and said, "Luna Taylor, I'm being honest with you. No matter what others say, no matter what Nicholas Hayes does, and no matter what you might think, you should know that the one person I care about is just one, and no one else matters." Luna Taylor quietly regarded Lily Lawrence, then suddenly let out a soft laugh, lifting a delicate finger to tap Lily Lawrence's cheek. "Yes, I know. I don't doubt you. It's just, after not seeing him for so long, I thought I'd started to move on. But then, seeing him so unexpectedly left me feeling a bit confused. Lily Lawrence, give me a little time. I'll be fine." Hearing this, Lily Lawrence looked at Luna Taylor for a long moment, a hint of lingering worry in her heart. But she didn't say anything more and quietly turned away. "Luna Taylor, we're the closest of friends, and to me, no one could ever replace you. I, Lily Lawrence, swear that no matter what, I would never do anything to hurt you, even if it hurt me. But I have my limits, I can't control others. We're best friends, so you'll understand, won't you?" 2 days later, under the brilliant sunlight, the silver orchid trees in the schoolyard shone brightly. The students of Class 11A at Tranquil Grove School welcomed a special day. The girls whispered excitedly, their faces filled with anticipation, as if the very air were bursting with multicolored bubbles. They were all awaiting an event they had looked forward to for a long time. "I heard today there will be a new student joining our class. Yes, I'm so excited. It must be Nicholas Hayes. He's so incredibly handsome. I can't believe he's really transferring here." As the bell rang for class, the excitement among the students became almost impossible to contain. All eyes turned toward the classroom door, filled with anticipation. However, the person who appeared at the door was none other than the infamous Ice Witch. She was as everyone remembered, with her neat long hair, black-rimmed glasses, and ever-stern expression. Clad in a black suit and an elegant skirt, she looked both mature and professional. With her teaching materials in hand, she strode into the classroom, her 5-centimeter heels clicking sharply as she walked. "Good morning, class." She stepped up to the lectern and stood still, her sharp gaze sweeping over each student in the room. "Good morning, ma'am," the students replied in unison, beginning the lesson in their usual manner. However, today, the teacher didn't rush to begin the lesson. She gently placed her teaching materials on the lectern, cleared her throat, and addressed the class. "Today, we have a new student joining us. Please help her out in the days to come. Let's all give her a warm welcome." All eyes turned toward the classroom door, as though a beam of light was drawing everyone's attention. For a moment, time seemed to pause. As their vision cleared, a graceful, delicate figure appeared before them. With an elegant posture, a refined face, and a gentle smile, she exuded an irresistible charm, making it hard for anyone to look away. Although her face was beautiful, she wasn't the person everyone was expecting. Who is she? She's so stunning. She has an amazing aura, like a movie star. But where's Nicholas Hayes? The students began whispering, their expressions filled with surprise and curiosity. Only Lily Lawrence and Luna Taylor looked visibly shaken. The moment they saw the smiling girl standing at the doorway, their faces turned pale, their eyes filled with disbelief. Why is she here? Am I seeing things? Both Lily Lawrence and Luna Taylor shared the same thought, their eyes meeting briefly, the shock on their faces revealing that everything unfolding was indeed real. Lily Lawrence clenched her fists, her gaze fixed on the classroom door. The beautiful girl stepped closer to the lectern, her smile remaining gentle, as her sweet voice echoed, "Hello everyone, I'm the new student, Vivian Vaughn. I hope you'll help me settle in." Her alluring gaze seemed to cast an invisible spell, drawing everyone's attention and making it impossible to look away. After introducing herself, Vivian Vaughn walked down from the lectern at the teacher's direction. Her steps were light, her movements graceful, her faint smile lingering, like a delicate flower blooming in midair. As she approached, Lily Lawrence sat quietly, her gaze clear and calm, as if nothing had happened. However, her clenched fists betrayed her true feelings. Vivian Vaughn walked past Lily Lawrence in a slow-motion moment, as if from a movie. Finally, she took an empty seat near the back of the class, still drawing the admiring gazes of many classmates as the classroom buzzed with hushed chatter. Once Vivian Vaughn was settled, the teacher cleared her throat again and announced, "Now, let's welcome another new student." Another new student? The students' curiosity flared up once more, and all eyes turned to the classroom door, filled with hope. A tall and handsome young man appeared, standing there as though illuminated by a golden light from behind, creating an indescribable, magical scene. His facial features were blurred by the backlight, like a vague reflection in water, but the faint smile at the corner of his lips was unmistakable. The previously bustling classroom suddenly fell silent. Hearts beat louder, and a sense of suspense filled the air. Unconsciously, everyone held their breath, their eyes and senses entirely captivated by him. "Hello, everyone, I'm Nicholas Hayes. We met a few days ago, do you remember me?" His long, deep eyes blinked softly, his radiant good looks stirring uncontrollable excitement among the girls. "Nicholas Hayes. Nicholas Hayes. I've missed you." The classroom immediately became lively again, with cheers and shouts from the girls echoing through the entire building. In the midst of the noise, there was a quiet, shadowy corner that seemed forgotten, filled with a sense of stillness and gloom. Lily Lawrence's gaze unconsciously drifted toward it, where she saw Luna Taylor sitting silently, her face expressionless, like a lifeless doll. Her delicate features and pale, translucent skin seemed almost unreal. Lily Lawrence looked from Nicholas Hayes, shining on the lectern, to Luna Taylor, silent in the corner, and a sudden wave of sadness washed over her. She had a strong premonition that peaceful days were now a thing of the past. The noise in the classroom eventually became too much for the teacher to bear. She banged her hand on the desk a few times and raised her voice, "Quiet. Quiet. It's class time, everyone needs to settle down." However, before her reprimand could even settle, one of the girls called out, "Nicholas Hayes, welcome to our class. We're so excited to have you here. Nicholas Hayes. Nicholas Hayes. Is it true you won major awards in Milan?" Clearly, the teacher's warning couldn't contain the enthusiasm of the girls, who were swept away by their emotions. Seeing the class out of control, the teacher, infamously known as the Ice Witch, appeared even sterner, her face as cold as a winter hailstorm. Just then, Nicholas Hayes calmly raised one slender finger to his lips and made a soft, shrill sound, just loud enough for the whole class to hear. Instantly, the room fell silent. A warm smile appeared on his face as he spoke gently, "Thank you all for such a warm welcome. But since this is class time, let's save the conversation for later, okay?" However, it was obvious that this would not be a lesson anyone could truly focus on. 4 people sat quietly in the same classroom, not exchanging a word, yet an invisible bond seemed to form among them. The art room was located on the top floor of the building, with large floor-to-ceiling glass walls. From any corner, one could gaze out over the entire campus and even beyond. Golden sunlight poured through the transparent glass, casting gentle rays into the room, quietly illuminating a face as sculpted as a statue. Pale lips, long, curved eyelashes like delicate fans, and beneath them, deep black eyes reflecting the image of an unfinished sketch. His face was serene and focused, slender, pale fingers gripping the pencil, skillfully moving it across the paper to bring shapes gradually into sharp relief. In the quiet room, the only sound was the rhythmic scraping of pencil on paper, lending the space a romantic and peaceful atmosphere. But the tranquility didn't last. The art room door was suddenly shoved open, shattering the calm completely. An underlying anger seemed to seep into the space. Lily Lawrence entered, her expression unreadable, her intense gaze fixed on the young man drawing. "Nicholas." Hayes's hand holding the pencil stopped immediately. His lashes lifted slightly, and he recognized the familiar, small figure before him. He could clearly sense the powerful anger radiating from Lily Lawrence. When will this girl learn to act a bit more gently? A faint, mysterious smile appeared on Nicholas Hayes's lips in the soft sunlight. Lily Lawrence's eyes were serious, and her voice was low and tense. Today, a girl named Vivian Vaughn transferred into our class. Don't tell me you didn't know about it. Oh, that. Nicholas Hayes lowered his gaze to the sketch, his pencil pressing harder on the paper. His voice paused for a moment before he continued, yes, I knew from the start. Something inside Lily Lawrence felt as if it had tightened, a sudden weakness rising from deep within. She clenched her fists to suppress this feeling, stepping closer to Nicholas Hayes with a heavy tread. Her voice, laced with an undeniable tone of accusation, asked, you helped her, didn't you? Lily Lawrence's eyes focused intently on him, awaiting his answer. Her words were like a sharp blade, spoken softly but filled with a strong hint of sarcasm. How convenient is that? Just as I find out she's working as a hostess in a bar, she suddenly transfers to my class, living a life as normal as mine. Daniel Lawson's fingers froze, silent for a moment before he finally set the pencil down, stood up, and faced Lily Lawrence. He replied, I couldn't stand by and do nothing while she was in that situation. So, I brought her to school. Lily Lawrence, she and I relied on each other, we've been through a lot together. Enough. Lily Lawrence closed her eyes, struggling to suppress the pain spreading through her heart as she cut him off with a cold tone. Childhood friends, enduring hardships together, depending on each other. What could be deeper than a bond like that? Lily Lawrence understood well that she could never erase that girl's image from Daniel Lawson's heart. And what about her? What was she to him? In the gentle sunlight, Lily Lawrence's fair face appeared even more ethereal, her translucent features softly highlighted. Her long purple lashes trembled slightly as she slowly opened her eyes, looking straight at Daniel Lawson. She took a deep breath and asked, then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say anything from the start? Why didn't you discuss it with me? Why did you let her suddenly step into my life? A complex expression flickered briefly in Daniel Lawson's deep, dark eyes, and he hesitated before answering, I considered telling you, but I was afraid you wouldn't be able to accept it. I can't accept the way you just made decisions on your own. Lily Lawrence retorted loudly, her eyes brimming with tears, her purple lashes wet with emotion. She fought to hold back her tears, a mocking smile twisting at her lips. Did you really think it was okay for her to be in the same class, the same room as me? Are you testing my patience? Daniel Lawson's gaze remained calm as he replied, I helped her out of pity. I wanted her to have a chance to change her life. As for her transferring into your class, that was entirely the school's arrangement, it was just a coincidence. So, you're willing to go to great lengths for her. You got her into this school, does that mean you'll help with everything else in her life too? If that's the case, you might as well marry her. But I'd be disgusted by it. Lily Lawrence's voice was filled with anger and sarcasm. Daniel Lawson frowned, displeased, Lily Lawrence, you're being ridiculous. Lily Lawrence laughed coldly, looking him straight in the eyes. Ridiculous? Then can you guarantee you'll never help her again? Can you promise you'll never marry her? Daniel Lawson replied firmly, I don't love Melanie Turner. So no matter what, I would never marry her. A glimmer of relief flashed in Lily Lawrence's eyes, but her tone remained unyielding, there are plenty of ways to help her, why did it have to be by bringing her into our school? Do you know how revolted I feel? My resources are limited, I could only get her into our school. Daniel Lawson's voice was steady and calm, his gaze deep as a lake. Lily Lawrence, must you always judge people with such arrogance? No matter the background, everyone has feelings. Lily Lawrence instinctively averted her gaze, looking out the window, her eyes gradually growing distant, and her lips losing their color. Stubbornly, she pouted, responding to his words, you're right. So let me warn you, don't ignore my feelings again and make decisions on your own. If you do, I won't forgive you. After speaking, Lily Lawrence turned and quickly walked toward the door. Promise me you won't expose Melanie Turner's past, all right? Daniel Lawson's voice sounded behind her, carrying a hint of urgency. Lily Lawrence's small figure paused, but she didn't turn around. She replied coldly, if she had the courage to come to school, why would she fear people knowing about her past? Daniel Lawson's eyes narrowed slightly. He said nothing more, simply watching her silhouette until it disappeared from view. The quiet sunlight shone down on the polished floor. After leaving the art room, Lily Lawrence's steps gradually slowed as she wandered down the long hallway, her mind hazy. At the corner leading to the stairs, a slim and graceful figure caught her eye. Instinctively, Lily Lawrence stopped, lowered her gaze, pretending not to notice, and continued forward. Lily Lawrence, could you tell me if the art room is on this floor? Vivian Vaughn's voice was soft and polite, yet lacked any hint of humility. For Vivian Vaughn to have come this far, she surely knew exactly where the art room was. Yet, she was deliberately asking in a tone that hinted at superiority. Was she provoking Lily Lawrence? Lily Lawrence stopped, her long purple lashes lifting slightly as she cast a cold glance at Vivian Vaughn, then spoke directly, do you think changing your name can erase your dark past? Since her opponent had initiated the provocation, Lily Lawrence felt no need to hold back and responded bluntly. Vivian Vaughn's beautiful face froze for a brief moment before curling into a sneer, as expected, you're just an uneducated, pampered little rich girl. Aside from being spoiled since birth, what else makes you worthy of being Daniel Lawson's sister? To Lily Lawrence, Vivian Vaughn felt not only contempt but a deep-seated resentment, never able to forget the humiliation she endured at the bar. Lily Lawrence glared at her, fury igniting within her, you're the one lacking any proper upbringing. It's pitiful that, for you, having a father means nothing. The anger surged to a peak in Lily Lawrence's heart, her hands clenched tightly into fists. She raised her hand unexpectedly, delivering a powerful slap across Vivian Vaughn's face as she shouted, shut up. Vivian Vaughn was taken aback by the slap, instinctively clutching her stinging cheek. Lily Lawrence was equally stunned, her heartbeat pounding chaotically. Vivian Vaughn stared at her with eyes filled with hatred, her gaze ablaze with fury. You dared to hit me. Vivian Vaughn gritted her teeth in fury. Lily Lawrence lifted her chin arrogantly, showing no fear. So what? You think you can easily bully me? Vivian Vaughn seethed, raising her clenched fist, ready to strike Lily Lawrence. Lily Lawrence instinctively dodged, bracing herself to defend. A flash of malice crossed Vivian Vaughn's eyes. Just as her hand was about to come down, she paused, then swiftly grabbed Lily Lawrence's arm, digging her nails into her skin and twisting hard. Lily Lawrence winced in pain, her eyes immediately showing distress. Vivian Vaughn smirked, tightening her grip even more. The searing pain ignited a fierce anger in Lily Lawrence. She wrenched her arm free and, like an enraged little animal, lunged at Vivian Vaughn. Caught off guard, Vivian Vaughn was knocked to the ground. Lily Lawrence straddled her, grabbing her hair, hitting her as she shouted, "You're a wretch. I, Lily Lawrence, am not someone to be bullied. I hate people insulting my father, and I hate even more those who dare to twist my skin. I won't forgive you today." Vivian Vaughn struggled to fight back, scratching deep into Lily Lawrence's skin with her long nails. Lily Lawrence cried out in pain, raising her hand to slap her once more. At that moment, a cold, powerful hand gripped her arm tightly. Lily Lawrence looked up, stunned to see Daniel Lawson standing in front of her, backlit by the light. His tall, imposing figure loomed over her like a cold statue. His voice was deep and icily sharp, "Lily Lawrence, you've gone too far. Let me go." Lily Lawrence struggled, trying to break free from his grasp, but it was no use. Daniel Lawson's gaze was cold, his eyes deep as an icy lake. He glanced at Vivian Vaughn, who was unsteadily on the ground, then turned back to Lily Lawrence and said with a chilling tone, "That's enough, Lily Lawrence. Don't make me resort to force. Go ahead. If you want to hit me, just do it." The pain in her wrist made Lily Lawrence grimace, her purple lashes trembling lightly, her heart feeling like it was being squeezed, each wave of pain intensifying the ache. "Stand up." Daniel Lawson's voice was authoritative and icy as he pulled Lily Lawrence away from Vivian Vaughn, practically pushing her aside. Lily Lawrence stumbled back a few steps, struggling to stay upright. Daniel Lawson carefully helped Vivian Vaughn to her feet, asking with concern, "Are you all right?" Vivian Vaughn gently shook her head, her voice soft, "I'm fine." Despite her words, she couldn't help but raise a hand to her cheek, moving delicately as if afraid to touch the wound. Her tear-filled eyes sparkled, giving her an intensely vulnerable appearance. Watching this scene, Lily Lawrence's heart filled with bitterness. At that moment, Daniel Lawson only had eyes for Vivian Vaughn, disregarding Lily Lawrence entirely, as if her presence meant nothing. "Let me take you to the nurse's office," Daniel Lawson said gently, holding Vivian Vaughn's hand, preparing to lead her away. "No need, it's just a minor injury. I'll be fine with a little powder later," Vivian Vaughn softly declined. But Daniel Lawson still looked concerned. "No, it's not healed yet. If you put makeup on it, it could irritate the skin. What if it leaves a scar?" Lily Lawrence couldn't hold back any longer and shouted angrily, "Daniel Lawson, rest assured. If her fox-like face could be ruined by a single slap from me, she wouldn't have climbed to where she is now." Daniel Lawson shot Lily Lawrence a cold look, his voice full of anger. "Lily Lawrence, haven't you said enough? Don't think that just because Dad and I spoil you, you can do whatever you want. You're such a jerk. Save your senseless pampering for that fox, Lily Lawrence, don't need it." She bit her lip, struggling to contain her anger, holding her sore arm as she stormed past them. Daniel Lawson called after her coldly, "Lily Lawrence, you're going to need to explain what just happened. You'd better come up with a reasonable explanation, or you'll have to apologize to Van High." "An explanation? Didn't you see it all yourself? Anything I say now would be pointless." Lily Lawrence gave a sarcastic laugh, then stopped laughing, meeting Daniel Lawson's gaze with a determined look. "But apologize? Never." By now, Daniel Lawson was fully biased. He no longer cared who was right or wrong and only believed that everything was Lily Lawrence's fault. His stance was clear: no matter what, he would stand by Vivian Vaughn. His dark eyes were as hard as molten iron, fixed intently on Lily Lawrence as his face grew darker, his chest rising and falling like a turbulent sea. At this moment, Vivian Vaughn, like a timid bird, moved closer to him, gently placing her pale hand on his chest. Her soft voice soothed, "Daniel Lawson, don't be angry because of me. I'm really fine, it's just a small wound. It'll heal in a few days. I don't need an apology, all I need is you by my side." Lily Lawrence's purple lashes lifted slightly, her icy gaze fixed on Vivian Vaughn. A flash of discomfort crossed her face but quickly vanished. She bit her lip, her fingers clenching as she fought to hold back the emotions rising within her. Then, she turned and ran. As Lily Lawrence's figure disappeared down the stairs, Daniel Lawson's eyes showed a trace of pain, his heart twisting. Unable to hold back, he called out loudly, "Lily Lawrence." But Lily Lawrence had already reached the corner of the stairs and didn't hear him. Lily Lawrence ran down to the lower floor, her white, long-sleeved shirt clinging to her arm as a red stain slowly spread across the fabric. The sky was gradually covered with dark clouds, a grayness enveloping everything, casting a heavy mood. The pain in her arm had dulled, overshadowed by the ache in her heart. In the school courtyard, the presence of two new famous students had made Class 11B the center of attention. During recess, students chatted animatedly, while on the school's website, the hottest posts and candid photos circulating through phones mostly revolved around Class 11B. Every time classes ended, both exits of the classroom were blocked by a bustling crowd, as if welcoming a celebrity. Lily Lawrence wandered dreamily down the hallway, the sounds of cheering and excitement echoing around her. She looked up and saw Nicholas Hayes standing in the middle of a crowd, as if every light in the room was focused on him. Lily Lawrence suddenly stopped, gazing at him in a daze. Nicholas Hayes quickly noticed Lily Lawrence's presence. Reflexively, he looked up, and when he saw her, a spark of light flashed in his eyes, and he gave her a gentle smile. Raising his hand, he waved to her with joy in his eyes, like a delighted child, Lily Lawrence. At his call, countless eyes turned toward Lily Lawrence. She immediately felt her body tense, an uncomfortable stiffness washing over her. She took a step back and quickly turned to run away. Nicholas Hayes's smile froze as he watched Lily Lawrence's retreating figure, a look of worry taking over his face. He wanted to chase after her, but the crowd surrounded him, holding him in place. The crowd was like an iron net, trapping him, as they bombarded him with questions. Nicholas Hayes, what's really going on between you and Lily Lawrence? Did you come here because of her? What do you find special about her? The excitement persisted all morning until the school administration intervened forcefully. The school issued strict regulations, warning that students who continued to gather noisily in public areas would face serious consequences. Although the discussions didn't completely stop, the school at least regained a sense of outward calm. Nevertheless, the entire campus and Class 11B seemed cloaked in a gray, gloomy haze.